we'll probably limit to about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I wanted to be short today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Folsom, we'll give you the last word, my friend. Go ahead. You can have your last word.
Many people that Papadopoulos told this stuff too.
I don't know if it's bad faith or your low IQ, right? I don't know which one it is. Folsom, who called in yesterday. How you doing today, Folsom?
I am good. Can you hear me?
Yes. How's it going?
I'm good.
Now, I know we talked a lot yesterday, but we'll probably limit to about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I wanted to be short today.
Okay.
Yeah. I just wanted to go, I read a lot yesterday after our talk, and I wanted to say that I think you're full of shit. I mean, the FISA warrants, okay, let's start with the FISA warrants.
Okay.
They were just for Carter Page, you agree with that?
Correct.
In the Mueller, okay. So, why'd you bring this up?
What's that mean? What are they allowed to do with the FISA warrant? So explain what that gives them the power to do.
It gives them the power to, I mean, you're going to say that they have the power to look at the communications between Carter Page and other people in the investigation, right?
Yeah, is that it, though?
Well, and I mean, yeah, what are you talking about?
So a FISA warrant allows, so Bill Binney worked at the CIA, talks about this a lot.
2 degrees of connection is what you're going to say,
right,
correct?
2 degrees of connection. So what would that mean? Who would they be able to survey based on getting...
Okay, sure. People that he talks to and the people he talks to, sure.
Okay, so that would mean, you would say that easily means the entire Trump campaign.
I agree.
Okay, so
where in the Mueller investigation? Where in the Mueller investigation? Oh, sure, yeah. Where in the Mueller investigation do they use the FISA warrants as evidence for any of those things? What do you mean it doesn't matter? Whoa, no, yeah, that is the most important thing. What are you talking about?
It gave the FBI that was doing the bidding of Hillary Clinton the power to see all communications for the entire Trump team. So if there were any crimes...
They subpoenaed them. They subpoenaed those records. They got the text.
Please, let me finish. You said that I'm full of shit. I would like to explain myself, okay? So that would mean that let's say that in that they found out that Donald Trump was committing tax fraud. Would they have been allowed to charge it?
No.
Yes.
Because they were found. Well, no, they wouldn't be because they were found fraudulent, right?
That's not true. Right? Yes, they were allowed to. So you're saying they were only allowed
they would
to
have been if the FISA warrants were fraudulent, sure.
Wait. So you're saying that through these FISA warrants that the FBI then, because their investigation was Trump-Russia collusion or Trump's team and Russia collusion in the 2016 election, that they were only allowed to prosecute crimes coming from that in the FISA warrants. They weren't allowed to prosecute crimes that were outside the scope of that? That's your claim? Okay,
no,
then why wouldn't they be allowed to charge Trump for these tax crimes if they found evidence through it in their FISA warrants of Carter Page?
Well, because they were found fraudulent after the fact. That's why it didn't hold up. That's why it wouldn't hold up. That's why it wouldn't hold up in court. That's why it wouldn't hold up in court. Okay, like if that wasn't true, then sure. I mean, the first two were partially right.
Okay, so first off, in this, right, the argument would, I think the first two were not literally found invalid. I think the second and the third may have been. I don't know, but two of them were found invalid. So let's go through all the ways that your argument's dumb here. First off, okay, if the first FISA warrant wasn't found invalid and they found that evidence of Trump, would they be allowed to go after the tax case for Trump on that one?
Yes, they would. But did they? What do you mean? What are you doing?
That's the point.
But how does that have anything to do with the stuff found in the investigation?
Do you think?
Can you use? No, it doesn't matter. You just want to talk about a point that doesn't matter.
What it did was give them the power to completely investigate all the internal communications of a campaign and a president. And
so do you believe they can't subpoena phone records? Wait, how do they get the LinkedIn messages?
So your argument is it doesn't matter how it happens, that the FBI should absolutely have the right to constantly investigate every political figure.
Purposefully obtuse. How did they get the information? How did they get the information?
Through
how did they get the text messages? That's not true. That's not true. They did not reference any of the FISA warrants. No, they subpoenaed the record. I mean, they subpoenaed their phone records. They subpoenaed the emails. What are you talking about?
What records are you talking about? What phone records? What emails are you talking about specifically?
Anything from Papadopoulos' phone records.
Right. So they had an independent investigation that wasn't revolving around Carter Page's FISA warrant that came to those things. What I'm saying is you've just given the rationale. You're like, who cares?
I care. Sorry.
I don't need you. I don't need you to interrupt. Let me tell you what you did. You come in, you say you're full of shit, and here's why. Because you talked about the FISA warrants, but it was only on Carter Page. I quickly get you to admit, yeah, but that means they can survey everyone. You're like, yeah,
they could, but did they? That's the question.
Let me finish.
You need to gish gallop because you're wrong.
I don't need to gish gallop. Like, you need to interrupt because you're wrong, right? And so I say yes, but it give them the ability to spy on all of the internal communications, which means if there was any crime that was committed anywhere in that, they would have been able to charge that. You're like, that's bullshit because 2 of them were found fraudulent. I'm like, okay, what if two? Yeah. I say, what if one of them wasn't fraudulent? Yeah, I guess they would have, but they didn't find those crimes, so therefore it's not a problem. The problem is you can't give the FBI
no, that is a problem.
Please, I know you
can't use it to.
I totally get it. I totally get when you're a piece of shit lefty that wants to make excuses for the FBI abuses that you need to interrupt because you won't want people to see how bad faith you are and how corrupt you are. I get that. I get it. You can't control yourself. Just like now, I get that you can't control yourself. I understand that. Maybe you need to reflect and look in the mirror before you come in and call other people full of shit. But I'll finish my point, particularly on my show. So the point I was making is this literally gives the justification for the FBI for fraudulent reasons to be able to spy on any political person they want. And if there's any sort of crime, they'll be able to charge it. Now, we used to say this was bad because it is the mentality of find the person or show me the person and I'll find the crime. We don't want a system where the FBI is literally allowed to violate people's Fourth Amendment because it's like, well, maybe they committed a crime. The fact that they didn't find a crime doesn't mean that we should give them the power to be able to do those things.
Well, I agree with you, sure. And then but look, we're not talking about the FISA wars. It doesn't matter for the Mueller investigation
because the first thing you talked about.
No, sorry. It does not matter for the Mueller investigation. Do you agree with that?
What doesn't
the information found in the Mueller investigation wasn't due to the FISA warrants. Do you agree with that?
I think the bulk of what they were talking about, which proved no Russia collusion, illegal Russia collusion whatsoever, sure, it didn't come from FISA warrants. The FISA warrants actually exonerated when they looked into the Carter Page communications and furthermore, more than just the FISA warrants, the spying they did on George Papadopoulos through Stephen Halper. Yes, the more they spied on the Trump team, the more they found evidence that the Russia collusion narrative was bullshit. Yeah?
Okay, I mean, that's not true, but whatever.
Certainly it's true.
So your first point yesterday, hold on. Well, that doesn't matter. Well, the first point, because I don't care about the FISA matter. I don't care about the FISA warrants because yesterday you were saying I don't care about them insofar as because they have nothing to do with the reason the investigation was started or the evidence found in the majority of the investigation. Correct. Well, that's just a fact.
You can say I don't. So what you've effect said was, well, because
I don't care about them for this thing. I think it's a bad thing. They shouldn't lie on warrants.
Okay, so I want to be clear. I want to be clear, right? Yesterday we were talking about Papadopoulos. The first thing you say is you're like, I did some research. You're full of shit. First off, on these FISA warrants, right? Okay, like, what does me being full of shit? I immediately got you to admit that I was correct on the FISA warrants. It allowed the entire surveillance of the Trump team.
Okay, no, you're wrong.
And then after pulling teeth, you're like, I agree. That's really bad. Right? So
no,
what was I full of shit about the FISA warrants?
You're full of shit because you're using it as a way to say that the Mueller investigation was wrong, but it has nothing to do with the Mueller investigation.
No, wait a minute. First off, where did I say that yesterday? Go for it.
Oh, you didn't say it, but that's what you imply. That's what you imply with the words you say. The reason that's why you talk about that.
Unlike you, right? Like, I actually have an understanding of these things. Mueller had nothing to do with the FISA warrants. My criticism of the FISA warrants isn't about Mueller. It's about...
So when we're talking about the Mueller investigation, why would you bring up the FISA warrants? It doesn't make any sense. No, it's because you want to bring a whole...
It's about the FBI's corruption. My entire conversation on this is about how the FBI was corrupt, that this was a scheme that was concocted by Hillary's team, that was then filtered through the FBI, that corruptly used a bunch of tools to fraudulently not only start an investigation, but fraudulent tools to spy on the entire Trump team. The FISA thing is part and parcel to understanding how they literally got access to all of the internal communications in the Trump team through fraudulent means. It's important because the last thing I'll say is because when I go through the situation of Joseph Mifsud and the Papadopoulos story like I did with you yesterday, you're always going to default to, unless Daddy Government tells me that it was wrong, I'm always going to find excuses. And Daddy Government did tell you the FISA warrants were wrong.
Okay, so what do you think should happen?
People like you that
what do you think should happen?
On this government corruption.
Do you think the FBI is so corrupt? What do you think should happen? You think it should be about... Okay, yeah, exactly. So do you think there's... let's say... Do you believe cops plant drugs? Do you believe there's cases where cops... Okay, should we dismantle the police?
If you found out that a particular police department... I'll ask you this. Like, let's say you find out that there's a particular police department in, say, some small town in Arkansas, okay?
Yeah.
And they are ran by a guy that says, I hate black people. Officers underneath me. What I want you to do is every black person you pull over, plant drugs on. You think that police department should be disbanded?
No.
Of course
disbanded? No. Well, okay, so what? So the people in the community should just like be able to commit crime? No, obviously.
No,
there should be the people who do that should be fired. Disbanded. What are you talking about disbanded?
That implies that
no, you want a full dismantlement of the FBI. You don't want it to just be.
Are there other law enforcement agencies other than the FBI?
Yes.
Okay, so your argument is if we didn't have an FBI, then what would happen?
What? Oh, you just want to go on to another point. I don't care about this. I really don't care about this.
No,
but
you brought it up. What do you mean? I'm like, every time you bring up a point and I directly refute it, you're like, oh, you want to talk about this point. Yes.
What are you talking about? No. Sorry, honey.
You're saying that I'm wrong for saying that the FBI should be disbanded because that would mean that we don't want to charge crimes. So I'm asking you, okay, without an FBI, then what happens with crimes? Everybody's just allowed to commit crimes.
You're just saying,
right?
No, but you disagree for some reason. You're saying that they do bad things, therefore we should disband them. When they have their place, they have their place.
What's their place? When the institution itself...
To charge federal crimes, what are you talking about?
Okay, we have other institutions that could do that. Secondly, when it comes to these police departments, there's been one example I could think of, I think in New Jersey, where they actually did disband their police and start up another police force simultaneously. That's what I would recommend with the FBI, that we should give their powers to other federal agencies until it's dismantled and until we could craft something new to ensure that they don't have power beyond the scope of the presidency, so much so that people like Chuck Schumer are saying, we can't question the FBI because they'll fuck us over, which he announced on television. That's a problem when there is an institution of unelected bureaucrats that are supposed to serve under the duly elected president of the United States. And it is so rotten from the top down that every politician knows we can't criticize them because they'll fuck us over. Yes, that's a massive problem.
That agency
has too much power. Okay, so
that's fine.
It doesn't matter what my ultimate conclusion is. What should we do? What should we do with all the abuses we saw at the FBI? Go ahead. What's your recommendation?
Try the people who did abuses.
Okay, we should put them on.
We should charge. We should.
Okay, so they didn't. Now what?
Well, then you should hold the DOJ accountable. I mean, what do you want me to do?
Okay, how are we going to hold the DOJ accountable? Go ahead.
Okay, maybe protest. I don't know. What do you want to do?
We've done protests. Now what?
Okay, well, then do a violent overtaking of the government.
Well, okay, I don't really appreciate Fed posts like you. I'm not calling for any sort of violence. I think a better situation before we violently overthrow the government would be...
Okay, so hold on. You do... No, listen. Here's what you said. You said, we've tried protesting. Well, first, we've asked the government to do this. They're not doing it. We've tried protesting. I mean, then what's next? What's after that? If they're not listening, if the government doesn't listen to you, what do you have to do? You have to take over the government in some way, correct?
Okay, so do you think that the government's systemically racist?
So you want to... I would rather go over the Mueller investigation and go down this stuff.
Question. Do you think the government's systemically racist?
It matters what you mean. Like, there's... No.
You don't? Okay. So you think...
Not really.
I bet you're full of shit. Why'd you hesitate?
Why did I hesitate? Because, like, I think everybody's racist in some way. I think if the people in power... If the people in power are all white... If the people in power are all white, or if there's one group, I think the Chinese government's probably racist to white people. But like, I don't gain anything by saying this. I don't think they're so racist where they're actually putting down, I guess in America, black people on purpose.
So we should violate. So you think people of color and people that are minorities, they've protested this, right?
Sure. I mean, and
that didn't work. Right?
Well,
so
it did. I remember MLK did some stuff. I don't remember. What did civil rights work? Maybe it worked a little bit.
The black community is thriving now. They have nothing to complain about, right?
No, that's not true. But
okay, but I hear a lot of black community leaders still.
They're better than they were. They're better than they were, and it does work.
You wouldn't know that to listen to black community leaders that still talk about the evils of systemic racism, police intentionally targeting black people, murdering them, shooting unarmed black men.
Do you not agree? Right? I mean, do you agree, though? You do agree that black people are better off than they used to be in America?
I think so. Well, yes,
do you believe that they believe that?
No, because a lot of cultural things, right? Because the government stepped in and incentivized single motherhood, which actually did an incredible amount of damage to the black community. But sure, when it comes to like a legalistic framework, doesn't matter though. I'm telling you, yes or no, do you think there are black people in large numbers, including black community leaders, that to this day continue, despite all of their protests, to say that the federal government is not looking out for their interest and is systemically racist?
Yes, I think there's people who say that.
So then your recommendation to those people would be to violently overthrow the government?
If they go through everything else first. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that would be the prescription of anybody. That's just how it works.
They already did the things you suggested. They should protest.
No, it's getting better. I mean, no, it obviously has been improving over time for them. I don't know what you're talking about.
In what metric?
In what metric? I mean, they used to be in slavery.
If things are getting better for them over time, why in 2022 do we see violent riots all over the country?
What? In 2020, what? What'd you say?
If things are getting better for the black community, why did we see violent riots? You would agree then that the black people that were violently rioting because of systemic racism and policing in this country in 2020, you would say that they were fucking nuts. Don't they understand that things are getting better?
No, that's besides the point.
It's not beside the point. About? You just said violence
things can get better. Things can get better.
You just said that you said, yes, it's true that black people in large numbers still think that the country is systemically racist. Yes, it's true that many of their cultural leaders say that, but things are getting better because they're protesting, so no need for the violence. I said, okay, if that's true, why did we see so much violence in 2020? You're like, well,
why
that doesn't
are they protesting
matter.
every day if it's not getting better? Why haven't they overtaken the government?
I asked you a question first.
Well, no, this is the question. This is the question that is refuting your question, right? Like,
that
if
question
what you're saying is true.
That question, because they're lazy. There. Now answer my question.
Because they're lazy?
Yes.
I mean, that's absurd.
Answer my question.
What, they did.
I answered your question, now answer mine. Why did they violently riot in 20? You're willing right now to condemn every single black leader, every single black person that took to the street and engaged in acts of violence in 2020 because you say it's getting so much better for you. What are you rioting about, right?
They were rioting about George Floyd because
how can that be? Things are getting better. Don't they understand that things are getting better? Why riot?
Because a instance of police brutality happened, correct?
Okay.
That's why they rioted. And then,
it doesn't matter.
They were charged.
Things are getting better. Oh, they rioted and then people got charged. So you're saying the violence was good. It led to the political outcome that they wanted.
It's a very strange thing to do.
It's not a very strange thing. You're the person that came.
I don't think looting is good. I think protests are good. But you want to say violence.
You want to know why it got
You want to say violence.
You're the one who said violence. I never said violence. It was you. That's why things have gotten strange.
But they went straight to violence.
Because you came in and you said, well, instead of disbanding the FBI, you should violently overthrow the federal government. That's what you said. And I'm pointing out how that position's absurd because I could tell
if they're not disbanding.
As a lefty, I could tell that there were probably things that you saw as wrong with the federal government that people have protested year after year, and it hasn't led to the change that they wanted. And so then for your prescription would be political violence. But you hesitate because you know that it'll look bad for yourself.
I'm fine with political violence. I'm fine with that.
There you go. You're fine with the violence.
I'm fine with that as the end of a long... If nothing is working, that's what has to happen.
How do you know when the end is?
I mean, that's a hard question, isn't it? That's a hard question.
Do you think that wealth disparity in this country has been increasing?
Yes.
Okay. Have people protested this?
Yes.
Have people voted against it?
Yes.
And yet the wealth disparity
voted for it, I would say, but...
And yet the wealth disparity continues to exacerbate, correct?
Yeah. I mean, if you believe the system...
So you're saying that people should violently overthrow the government?
If you believe the system is so corrupt that your vote does not matter, then yes, you should overthrow the government. I don't believe that. That's why I wouldn't do that.
Okay, but
I believe in democracy.
Okay, then why has democracy not led to a shrinking of wealth disparity?
Because the people are voting for people that do not want to do that. They're voting for Donald Trump, who wants to...
Okay, but
lower
wealth
taxes,
disparity increased.
Who wants to put tariffs on that are regressive taxes? I mean, what do you want me to say?
Okay, so who did they vote? So the Democrats aren't like that, though?
They didn't do widespread tariffs, no. They didn't do regressive tax policy, no.
So then wealth disparity increase or decrease under Democrat administrations?
Wealth disparity, well, since it's also increased under Republican administrations, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so how is that a prescription of a Democrat or just a prescription of America?
So we're looking at two things. On one hand, I'm saying, despite the fact that people vote, and there's people that really concerned about this, it doesn't matter who they vote for, the system's not working, the disparity increases. Your response is, but that's because of Donald Trump. And I'm saying, no, it's not just Trump. The people that you would suggest voting for also lead to an exacerbation of that problem.
I would say that every person since 2000 has led to an exacerbation. So
it seems it doesn't matter who we vote for, right? That problem's going to keep getting worse.
I would disagree. I mean,
okay, who would we
the
vote
taxes?
For
I disagree with the tax. I mean, the tax policy is bad. The tax policy that liberals propose usually is better.
Do you think that Kamala Harris would have had policies to shrink the wealth disparity?
I think she would have had. I mean, I don't know exactly what her tax policy was. I can't remember, and I don't like some of the things she did with the grocery store taxes or whatever, or not taxes, but grocery store. Was it removing taxes from grocery store stuff? I don't know, or subsidizing it.
I don't know what you're trying to say. Nonetheless, we get into this weird conversation because you asked my prescription. I stand by my prescription. I think you would say the same thing. For example, do you think that it's unreasonable for people that want to disband ICE?
Do I think it's unreasonable?
Yes. Is that a bad idea?
Yes.
Okay, well, at least you're on that. I think that there are plenty of people, if there is an institution, it's part of the executive that is corrupt to its core, to the very leadership, then we should get rid of it and replace it with another agency that would do those duties, but that is written in a way that hopefully there's more transparent accountability. That's it's irrelevant to the conversation of you saying that I was full of shit in the conversation we had yesterday.
Yeah, well, we didn't get to talk about that.
The prescription, because you brought this shit up, because you started
because you wanted to go off into it.
That's not true. You wanted to go off into
it. I said, I don't care about this. I'd rather talk about this. And you said, well, let me talk about this.
Do I have to remind you what happened? Here's what happened. You came in and said, you're full of shit. I said, why? You are. FISA warrants. We talked about the FISA warrants. You agreed that I'm right on it. And then you're like, well, then the next thing you say is like,
I disagreed. Sorry, if I'm not being clear, I disagree with the way that you use it to cover for the Mueller investigation. The FISA warrants do not have anything to do. But when we're talking about the Mueller investigation.
I'll finish my point and then we'll get back to the Mueller investigation. So once I prove that you were wrong on the FISA warrants, then you say, yeah, but what do you want to do? What's your prescription? I said disband the FBI. And then you started talking about that. I did not bring up any of these topics. Everything that we're talking about were topics that you brought up. Now, when it comes to the Mueller investigation,
did I say I don't care? I'd rather talk about this. What are you talking about?
I don't need to talk about the FISA warrants to impugn the Mueller investigation. The Mueller investigation fucking sucked on its own. Even if you think that the investigation was great and above board, it didn't. It proved that they were unable to find proof of the central claim, which was that Trump's team illegally conspired with Russians. So why do I have to use FISA warrants to, quote, impugn the Mueller investigation?
It did find other things, though, correct? No, hold on. To use, first of all, you talk about Papadopoulos and how he was entrapped. You said that, correct?
I said that if Joseph Mifsud was Western intelligence, then yes, that was entrapment and the biggest political scandal in the history of this country.
And why would you bring this up? Do you believe that? Hold on. Why would you believe? Why are you doing this fucking face, bro?
Because I feel like it. Why don't you show your face if you're going to criticize my face? Go ahead.
Okay, honey. Yeah, what I'm saying is,
don't call me honey, dude. I know maybe you're into that lifestyle, you fucking weird lefty, but not me. Okay?
Get this in your eyes, it blinds you.
Honey. Hush.
Oh, wow. You're mad. Okay.
I'm not mad. I'm having fun smacking around a lefty for the second day in a row. He's too fucking stupid to realize it.
Okay. So you say that Papadopoulos was entrapped and therefore the Mueller investigation started on false pretenses. Pretty much is what you said. Do you disagree with that?
It's an argument I made, and you agreed that the most likely scenario was that he was entrapped.
Yeah. I said with the information at the time, yeah, I would agree that it looks like that. That's what I said.
That is true.
Okay. I disagree with that now with more information.
Let's hear it.
Okay.
Why wasn't Mifsud charged?
Well, let's start off with a timeline of Papadopoulos when he started with the Trump campaign.
Okay, let's go.
In 2015, he started, he tried to get a job with the Trump campaign, and he messaged somebody on LinkedIn, I think 2 people. In late 2015, he worked with Ben Carson's on a paid role with Ben Carson's campaign. Okay. Early 2016, he left the Ben Carson campaign. He started working with the London Center of International Law Practice. And at that same time,
what does any of this have shit to do with anything?
Okay, let's wait.
Wait,
okay.
You forgot. Wait,
let me go through. Let me go through the timeline.
He was on the high school football team. You missed
that.
Yeah,
I'll explain it. Just let me continue. I'll explain it. Okay.
We don't get all night. We got 4 fucking calls.
Yes, sir. Okay, gotcha.
Let's go.
While he was doing that, he started to work with the Trump campaign. He talked to Sam Clovis on March 6, 2016. 6 days later, he went on a trip to Rome with the company he started working for, the LCI LP. Okay, and that's when he met Mifsud, okay?
Cool, met Mifsud, great. So right now,
okay, so
that he met
my
Mifsud.
question.
Now, I just want to pause you here. Are you still under the assumption the reason Mifsud wasn't charged was because he was most likely Western intelligence?
No. So if
everything you just said up till now we got to, he met Mifsud. Got it.
He met Mifsud 6 days after he started working for the Trump campaign, okay?
Gotcha.
So if there was a 6-day difference between those days, then what do you believe? Do you believe that it was a planned meeting?
No.
By Western intelligence?
It would.
Okay, no.
Oh, wait. Do I believe that Mifsud reached out to people and was probably tasked with reaching out to people that were connected to Trump's team in some way? I believe that
he worked. Sorry. I'll give you more information. Mifsud also worked with the LCILP. That's why they met each other. Okay.
Right.
So they met each other randomly.
Okay.
Because they both work for the same company. Okay.
Okay. Fine.
Okay. And if this is true, right?
At this point, Papadopoulos works for Trump's campaign, right?
He works for Trump 6 days. He just started.
Okay. Got you.
Okay. So if this is true, then we would probably say that Western intelligence didn't try to entrap him. They weren't going after him.
No, that's not true at all.
Himself.
I can explain this easily.
Okay.
No problem. Mifsud's already working for Western intelligence, which the people around him seem to think was likely the case, particularly through his work with Linked University, which was actually the CIA of Italy's central hub for sort of working through academics to get people. And so he probably then approached the intelligence people he worked for and said, hey, I just bumped into a low-level member of the Trump campaign. And they said, sweet, let's try to entrap him.
Okay, so you believe that it happened after, but it wasn't a plan. They didn't meet.
I don't know that they literally sent Joseph Mifsud from the beginning and were like, as soon as Papadopoulos started, here's the guy that we're targeting. No, I think that they saw an opportunity because they have intel assets all across the Western world. And we're like, okay, they probably tried to do this to more people than Papadopoulos would be my guess as well.
Okay. And so what do you believe entrapment is? I believe
entrapment is, without looking up the definition just off the top of my head, when clandestine law enforcement suggests a plan or suggests something illegal and ropes someone into it.
Yeah, they do get them to commit a crime that they wouldn't commit otherwise, right?
Sure.
They coerce them to do that. Okay, sure. I agree with that.
In this case, it was, I'll cut you off. In this case, it wasn't entrapment because they didn't even get Papadopoulos to commit a crime.
Exactly. That's what I was going to bring up.
The problem talking about the specifics here is, which is even more absurd than that they started an investigation based on him because he was never alleged to have committed a crime. What this was they said that the flimsy excuse of, we heard someone on Trump's team say that Russians may have emails is already flimsy enough as a reason to start an investigation into the Trump team. However, it's even flimsier if the rumor that he heard in the first place was sourced from Western intelligence.
Wait, hold on. Who was the someone who told them that? Was it a high-ranking official? Who was it? You're saying someone.
Someone that told what?
The FBI. Who gave the tip to the FBI?
Alexander Downer?
Correct. And who was he?
He was an official from Australia, an Australian diplomat who at one time was under investigation for funneling $25 million of Australians' tax dollars to the Clinton Foundation.
Okay, so he was, and there was another person there, correct? There was another Australian diplomat. There was 2 people, correct? So they had the information, and it's not the only person that they told about this, right? Papadopoulos also told the Greek foreign minister about
I think
this.
so.
And we would also assume that he told Trump's team if he's telling random foreign
then show me the Mueller team finding evidence of that. You agree that the Mueller team looked into that?
I agree, and they don't have any evidence from calls or texts.
So no, I don't
anything.
think that it's I think specifically.
I think we could assume that if he's telling people.
You could assume, but I would say from stronger evidence that would counter your assumption, which would be that he went to them and said, hey, there might be an opportunity here to talk to some Russians to improve relations. And he was basically told, listen, don't worry about that. We're not going to do that. He probably was like, well, then I'm not going to talk about this stuff to high-ranking officials in the Trump campaign.
Well, hold on. They didn't say they weren't going to do that. They said they didn't want Donald Trump to be the one who does it. They want a low-level person to meet them.
Right, but they didn't tell Papadopoulos to do it. They told him that it wasn't something that they were interested in.
They said, sounds good. That's great.
I think that your assumption is faulty, seeing as how they found no evidence of it. And Papadopoulos doesn't seem like a dude who was being very secretive. They found no evidence. They found no evidence. So sorry. But let's assume that your assumption's correct. He did tell Trump's team, hey, Russians may have dirt on Hillary. Okay? Now what?
Then, this was a good reason to start an investigation.
No, it's not. Why is that a reason?
Okay, so right after the Hillary Clinton's emails were leaked, Australia gave the information to the FBI. You agree with that?
Holy shit. Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. So they concocted the story. Western intelligence concocted a story that Russia had emails on Hillary, and then Russia
a person
emails,
involved with the Trump campaign.
Don't even have, and then it was like, but we fed this information. CIA fed this information to someone in the Trump campaign, and they mentioned it. Therefore, now we can investigate the Trump campaign.
Sorry. Listen. Okay, so they gave you the information.
I just want to let you know. I think that you are indicative of what the argument will become. And so I'm so glad that you're here, because for years I fought with, and this is what lefties do constantly. They're like, no, that didn't happen. It's ridiculous. And then once it ends up that is what happened, they say, okay, but it was a good thing. For years I fought with people that was like, it is absurd to even entertain the idea that Joseph Mifsud was Western intelligence. How dare you? And the reason they said that and were so incredulous is because intuitively they understand how fucking bad it would be if the start of the Trump investigation was Western intelligence basically sending a spy to talk to Joseph Mifsud to give him a rumor that then they could pick up on the other end and say, because the rumor that we gave someone low-level dude in the Trump campaign was later talked about, that gives us justification to investigate to see if they're cooperating with Russians or conspiring with.
It doesn't seem like they sent him a spy.
Everybody knows how fucking bad that would be. And your argument is, even if he was, still, that's reason to investigate. If
we have no information, it's all speculative. If he's Western intelligence, he could be Russian intelligence. He could be.
Yesterday, you gave. I gave you the rationale for why he was most likely Western intelligence. You claimed I don't believe that now. Yesterday you believed it and now you don't. And I'm like, why? And you're like, because I found more information. You said I was full of shit. I said, okay, let's hear it. You're like, well, because it turns out Papadopoulos had this other job, and then he worked for Ben Carson, and then he was like in Rome, and he was doing stuff, and then he got a job with Trump, and then 6 days later he met with Mifsud. So therefore Mifsud's not Western intelligence.
No, sorry, I said it seems very unlikely that, because you frame it as if Mifsud was sent to him to entrap him into something when they met through a mutual connection.
It would be
from
irrelevant.
A job.
It would be irrelevant.
So I agree. It doesn't necessarily mean, but it does. It just means it wasn't premeditated, right? That's all it means.
So then he wasn't premeditated. What does that matter in the grand scheme of this, of what we're talking here? You still haven't, nothing you said changed any of the evidence that you saw yesterday that you came to the conclusion that Mifsud was most likely Western intelligence.
Right. So
then what's changed on that front?
Papadopoulos met with Mifsud. He decided to meet with him multiple times himself. It wasn't like he was entrapped by, and it wasn't the first thing he said, right? It wasn't the first thing that
Mifsud didn't come out saying Russians have emails on Hillary.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. But Papadopoulos was pushing to talk to them because he wanted to get connections with Russians.
It doesn't matter. It's not illegal to get connections with Russians.
I don't disagree with you. He wasn't charged with anything like that.
That's right. He wasn't charged with anything.
Because I'm just talking about why the investigation started and if it started legitimately. That's all I'm saying, and I'm saying legitimate. It did.
Nothing that you said there would say to anything of the reasons that yesterday you thought Mifsud was most likely Western intelligence. The idea of, yes, but Papadopoulos reached out to him. The invitations were proffered by Mifsud, by the way, so it was sort of a mutual thing. How does that speak to the fact that Mifsud was most likely Western intelligence? If what you're saying is true, why didn't the FBI, when they knew Mifsud lied to them, charge Mifsud if they think that he's this central Russian spy? Why didn't Bob Mueller's team look into this?
The answer could be that he is a foreign national, and it's hard to...
Then why did they
hard to extradite him? And
why did they charge 13 Russian foreign nationals for pasting ads on Pokemon Go and Facebook? Why didn't they say it's hard to charge foreign nationals?
It's because those were different crimes, right? One is lying lying during an investigation,
and
which is going to get
for Russia.
How long was Papadopoulos in jail for? Do you know? I mean, it wasn't long, correct?
I think 24 hours, something to that effect.
Okay, so what? They were going to extradite Mifsud for so he could be in jail for 24 hours?
Yes,
doesn't make any sense.
Yes or no? Did the FBI believe that Mifsud was the Russian spy that started this entire thing?
They didn't have any real proof, though. Is that also true?
That's if they didn't have proof, then the entire thing's bullshit from the get-go.
They don't believe that he was a Russian spy. They didn't have proof that he was a Russian spy. Sorry, they didn't have proof that he was a Russian spy. Let me be precise.
If he wasn't working at the behest of Russia, someone that was infiltrating the Trump campaign.
What is proof?
What is proof?
Yeah, what do you believe proof is? Like they knew he said this stuff, but they don't have factual evidence.
Okay, what is
that
the
he
FBI?
has...
Okay, but so they didn't have enough to charge him with being an FBI spy. That's what you're saying. Yes or no? Did the FBI believe that he was?
Yes.
Okay. Is it true that the penalty for lying to the FBI could be a punishment more than 24 hours?
Yes.
Okay, then why wouldn't
so, yeah.
If you're willing to charge a 3-star general like Mike Flynn with lying to the FBI and ruin his life, why wouldn't you charge the guy that you believe is the central Russian spy?
I think we should hold American citizens or American officials to a higher standard than we hold foreign officials.
I mean, this is one of the dumbest arguments I've ever heard. So yeah, you know what? We should. No, I do not agree that if our intelligence agencies thinks they can absolutely prove that someone committed a crime beyond a shadow of a doubt, and it is their sincere belief, and they may not be able to prove it, but their sincere belief that this person is a spy that infiltrated our country,
a foreign national.
Let me finish. That infiltrated our country, that led to investigations that would tear this country apart. On allegations that Democrats said were an act of war of Russia infiltrating. I think if they took that so seriously, which clearly the FBI did, then they would have aggressively gone after the central Russian figure that they knew started it all, including the crimes that they could prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he did. And they would have prosecute them as aggressively as possible. Instead, what they did was go after 3-star generals connected to Trump and prosecute him for bullshit crimes like, oh, he lied about talking about sanctions and retaliation. So the idea of like, well, they just, you should go after Americans. It's easier to try people that are American citizens.
It's just a fact. It is a fact that it would be easier. Would you not agree?
You've brought nothing to the table here this evening.
What do you mean I've brought nothing to the table? You didn't know any of the information. You don't know any of the discrete facts. You don't know any of the discrete facts. You have not even read the Mueller report, I don't believe. You have not read.
I have read the Mueller report. I have the book right here somewhere.
Okay, it doesn't matter. You have the book. Okay.
What you're saying, okay.
What does that even mean?
I want you to know on page 273, when it's talking about Azra Turk, I have this highlight right now. What did it say about Azra Turk, in particular with her June meeting with Mifsud, Mifsud and Papadopoulos? What did it say?
273?
Page 273, Mueller report. It talks about Azra Turk, right? And her meeting with Joseph Mifsud and George Papadopoulos. Forget about the page. It doesn't matter. You read the Mueller report now.
So what does it say on page 101 about
forget about
Papadopoulos? What did it say? What did it say about Papadopoulos?
I happen to know the page.
If you do it, no, sorry, Hori. If you know it, I want to see if you can do the same thing. Let's see if you can do the same thing. I can't do it. I don't know it. So how about can you do the same thing? Can you do the same thing? Can you do the same thing?
You didn't read the report.
I just told you this. Let's see. Who was the woman that Papadopoulos met with and was introduced by Mifsud?
Who was the woman that Papadopoulos met with and was introduced to Mifsud?
Met with.
I forget her name.
Okay.
Svetlana.
Well, have you read the report?
Yes. My argument is this. I've read the report, but there are irrelevant details that I forgot because it's hundreds of pages. Your argument is... Let me finish. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I did not mean to do that. I bumped it.
Okay, I gotcha.
My argument is, no, I read the report and know the important facts, but there are details like I forgot that Papadopoulos worked for Ben Carson, that it said that. But if that's your argument, if I didn't know that, it proves I didn't read the report. Then if I could bring up a fact... This is like
central to your argument, by the way.
But then that would mean that if I could cite a fact from the report that you don't know, no matter how seemingly irrelevant, it proves that you haven't read the report. And you're like, well,
I don't think you read the report because this is central to your argument.
Okay, explain to me how working for Ben Carson is central to the argument.
I'm saying the timeline of...
Explain to me, I want you to explain to me in the audience right now how it's central to the argument that knowing that Papadopoulos worked for Ben Carson is central to the argument. Go ahead.
It would be important to know that he worked for the London Center of International Law Practice, correct? Because that's how he met Mifsud. Did you know that?
No, that's not important in the
grand scheme. That is important. It
is not important in the grand scheme of things how he met Mifsud. What's important to know
if you believe it's entrapment, it would be important to know that they met through a mutual work connection.
The specific detail of the name of the organization that they met. What I knew, if you would have asked me before, I would have said this. They met because Papadopoulos was like in Europe and he was working with like certain think tanks or something like that, and he ran into Joseph Mifsud. That's what I would have said. I didn't remember the specific name of it.
But to know the timeline of the 6-day difference means that
it doesn't. The 6 days proves nothing. What does that prove?
weakens your argument that it was entrapment. It does weaken it. It weakens it that they were trying to go after. It weakens that they were trying to go after.
You assume what I meant by entrapment. First, I don't know that I used the word entrapment colloquially. What I meant was that they suggested something that they then ended up, because that rumor was put forth at the end through a line of people, that was a reason to investigate. Entrapment's not a good word for it, but fair. I use that word because it's in the spirit of setting someone up to commit a crime, right? And that the government's not supposed to do that stuff. This is far worse than what we would consider normal entrapment, but it doesn't speak to the veracity of that, because it's not like I'm saying that they sat in a room and were like, okay, here's a map of everyone on Trump's team. Bam, this guy, George Papadopoulos. Who we got? Oh, Joseph Mifsud. Yeah, the Maltese professor. Here, Mifsud, what were you supposed to be doing this week? Well, sir, I was supposed to be in India entrapping people over there. No, take that out. Now we're going to send you to serendipitously bump into George Papadopoulos at a cafe somewhere. No, I knew that wasn't the case. What happens is you have all of these people and all of these think tanks, etc., that were probably bumping into people, low-level people in the Trump campaign all the time, because it's just the way international politics works. Like, there are people that are connected politically to governments, etc., that are bumping into other people. And so when Mifsud pumps in and hears that Papadopoulos is like, by the way, I'm working for the Trump campaign, his ears perk up. He's like, interesting, right? Then all of a sudden he's very interested in meeting George Papadopoulos, right? I believe that would be the time where it was most like, what are you going to do if it turns out this is true? Are you going to come on here and say, I'm so fucking sorry, I said you were
If I'm wrong, yeah, sure. If there's more information, it would just have to be more information, though, right?
Okay, so your only reason for why they wouldn't have charged Mifsud is the reason you believed it yesterday, but you don't today, is because Papadopoulos met him 6 days after he started for the Trump campaign.
Well, no, that's not the only reason.
Okay, so then what's the other reason?
I think after looking at it and thinking about it more, that he's a foreign national, and they weren't trying them with entrapment. They weren't trying them with any real crimes other than lying to the FBI, which Papadopoulos only got 24 hours for, right, in jail. Then it doesn't seem like they should extradite a foreign national for something.
They literally were trying to extradite 13 foreign nationals for putting ads on Pokemon Go.
It wasn't just, what are you talking about? That was a large-scale thing where they were influencing the election through social media. How much money did they spend on those ads? I don't know.
Okay, give me an idea.
Well, you're gonna say, I don't know. I'm gonna say 25. That's not gonna be much. 25,000. What is it? It's gonna be like really cheap or something. I have no idea. I'm just saying a random number.
I've read different numbers. Let's see if I can find a specific number. Let's go with your number though, and say 25,000. So that's a serious crime worth extraditing foreign nationals.
I mean, I don't know what the exact. I mean,
$100,000 is what I'm reading. Okay. So it was a campaign that had about estimated $1 billion of total media. And so 13 Russians put ads on Facebook and Pokemon Go, half of which were ones that were pro-lefty causes like pro-BLM, pro-LGBT rights, half of which weren't seen until after the election. $100,000 of ads on Pokemon Go and Facebook. And that was worth extraditing Russians over. That's your argument. But the central spy that the FBI alleges was literally the start of trying to infiltrate our elections and infiltrating the Donald Trump campaign. You're like, it's not worth charging him.
What the thing? Okay, so you're conflating the people who worked for the. I may be getting the acronym wrong. Is it IPA?
Internet Research Agency.
Yeah. Internet Research Agency. Okay. That did, obviously they did more. Do you disagree? Than just that? Than just the ads on?
What more did they do? What are they accused of doing?
I mean, thousands of accounts, correct? Thousands of accounts across.
Okay, so they spent ads.
Hundreds of thousands of followers that were pushing certain hundreds of thousands, and they were pushing these ideas to their followers, correct? Like the whatever conservative ideas that were conservative. I mean, that's what it says.
So I just want to be clear right now. Hypothetically, on Twitter right now, on X, right? Hypothetically, there are a Chinese account and it has bots and it's pushing something like, hey, we should have electric vehicle mandates. We need to aggressively prosecute the Chinese person that had those bots.
If they're doing a widespread campaign to change public opinion, yes.
I mean, this is insane.
Thousands of accounts. It's not just one, two
thousands
people.
Of accounts.
Thousands of accounts.
They could have had millions. Let's do more. Billions of accounts. Yes, it's fucking insane to say that we should prosecute that. Yeah. They spent $100,000 on ads.
It doesn't matter about the ads if they have hundreds of thousands of followers that they're influencing,
so
correct?
What was the engagement? So, okay, you're making the affirmative claim. So they had hundreds of thousands of accounts. Can you show me the proof of that? Can you show me the proof of how much engagement that those hundreds of thousands of accounts got? Can you show me any estimation on how many votes were changed because of the hundreds of thousands of accounts that Russians had?
I can pull up the document right here.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, the 100,000 here on page. Okay, sorry. That was the $100,000. 300,000 followers. So, United Muslims America Facebook group had over 300,000 followers. The Don't Shoot Us Facebook group had 250,000 followers. Being Patriotic Facebook group had over 200,000 followers.
So, what was their engagement? They had the followers. So they put a post out on Twitter. What's the engagement that they're getting?
I don't know. How many followers do you have?
How many of those followers were bots, by the way?
I don't know. I don't think there's a estimate on that.
But what if they were all bots? Then what if their followers were all bots that they also paid for?
It says these posts reached at least 29 million U.S. persons and may have reached an estimated 126 million people. That's what it says.
Nonetheless, how much engagement did they get?
I mean, it doesn't say in the investigation. How much engagement do you get?
The Mueller report
the
Mueller report found no evidence that the Internet Research Agency efforts directly changed votes or that the Trump campaign criminally conspired.
Okay, well, I mean, what do you say? I'm just saying what.
So there's no proof.
IRA.
So I just want to be clear. Let's say that they weren't bots. Let's say that they weren't bots. Let's say that it's all organic, and that 13 Russians decide, you know what? Fuck it. We think that Hillary Clinton sucks, so we're going to put posts out there, and a lot of people follow them. Is that a crime?
I think that it should. No, I don't think it's an actual crime. I don't think there's anything in the code that says that. No.
Okay,
but I think
so
maybe
then what's
what's
the crime? It should be a crime.
I think it should be, yeah.
It should be a crime.
I don't know if it's an actual crime. I just want to be clear.
Your argument is it should be a crime for someone who is foreign to the United States to post about U.S. politics.
I think it should be a crime to purposefully create a movement that is changing the mind of a foreign company. It should have to say they're foreign, yeah. I mean, they have to do that in the United States now, don't they?
Wait. It's not just
if you're backed by a foreign
individual. So my name is Chang Shi, and I work for an oil company in China. And I go to Facebook and I'm like, you know what? I really dislike Kamala Harris. I think she sucks for the following reasons. And then I get 1 million people that like that post. I have
nothing wrong with individuals doing that. I do have there's nothing wrong with individuals doing that. There is a problem when there is a organization meant to change the minds of the American public. I think that's wrong.
Okay, so if the BBC posts something about U.S. politics, they should be arrested. Foreign entity trying to change the minds of American politics.
Sorry, and I mean, you're being weird, but I'll be more precise. I'll be more precise with my language. A organization that is not announcing that they're foreign doing it.
Okay,
right?
so just to be clear, so then if a company in France, right, is like, listen, we don't like this law that Trump's going to pass. So we want all of our employees to go out and say, this is a bad law that Trump's passing. They just committed a crime. Because those employees aren't announcing, I'm an employee of this company and it's a foreign company and we have our staked interest in this. If they just say, we think this law is bad, then that would be a crime.
If they're doing social media campaigns.
Yeah, I think that's
and pretending to be separate individuals, right? Like usually Americans, correct? Then it would be wrong. I think you agree with that. What if
this happens all the time. We constantly see people.
And do you think that's good for American politics?
It doesn't matter if I think it's good or not. It's a question of should it be criminal?
Okay, sorry. Well, I would argue that if you don't think it's good, that it probably should.
Everything we think isn't good should be criminal? Okay, then disband the FBI,
things, right?
arrest
like
them all.
Most things. I mean, I think they're pretty closely tied to our morals, correct? We believe our laws are tied to morals. Do you think
lying's good?
No.
Okay, so it should be illegal to lie, right?
No, I mean...
you just said that most things that we say aren't good should be illegal.
Yeah.
Would you like me... Okay.
Do you not believe laws are tied to morals?
There is some tangential connection. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that everything in morals should be illegal.
Well, I agree with that.
Not even close.
Okay. I mean, it should be tied to morals in some way, though, and that's what I was saying.
Okay,
that,
but
maybe it's bad. It would be bad. It would be bad for our democracy. It would be bad for our democracy.
You did the same thing yesterday. Okay, if you're going to say laws are tied to morals. Therefore, if you're a foreign national and you don't announce it and you're, quote, pretending to be American and you're commenting on American politics, you should be arrested. And when I say, I think that's crazy, you're like, you don't think that laws are tied to morals? Yes, laws could be tied to some sense of morality. No, that doesn't mean that the threshold, that doesn't mean that the threshold is such that everything that's immoral should be illegal.
Do you think foreign governments should try to influence our public?
No, I agree. The BBC's terrible. Throw them in jail.
Okay. I mean, I'm fine with that if you believe that. I'm fine if you believe that.
Do you think that it's wrong for foreign governments to try to influence our elections?
Yes.
Do you think that should be illegal?
Yes.
Do you think the BBC is an entity of a foreign government?
Yes.
Are they doing
covert campaigns in our social media?
No.
That's what I think's illegal.
Now you adding Kevin.
That's what I think's illegal. That's what I think should be illegal. Sorry.
Let's go through the list of what you just said again. Now,
so you want,
once it gets this is
instead of letting me clarify what I'm saying, instead of letting me clarify what I say, instead of letting me clarify what I'm saying, instead of letting me clarify what I'm saying,
it has nothing to do with the
clarification. Aren't you a professional debater? I thought you were a professional. Because you're trying to go.
Yeah, debate. I don't know about that. I get paid to stream. I used to debate in college.
Well, I would say you're a professional debater. You debate people who are.
Let me explain what you're really trying to do. We go through step A, step B, step C. You agree with premise A, premise B, premise C, and I go, therefore, the conclusion. Now, I know this is a conclusion that you're going to realize is stupid. So then what you say is, never mind, I want to change premise A, B, or C. But you already admitted to
I disagree.
Yes, I was wrong. I was wrong
I gotcha.
When I just gave you those premises. I was wrong. I'm a bullshitter who doesn't think through what I'm saying, and even when you
if I'm not precise with my
precision, you literally just heard me say. Literally, I was like BBC, and you're like, oh, that's what you believe. So then I go through the steps. One.
Obviously, I don't believe the BBC because I'm telling you, I've told you multiple times. I just don't think you've listened. Like, I don't know what to say.
Second,
I told you multiple times. It's the covert. I mean, you're talking about.
Yes. Oh, therefore, it should be. Now you're like, oh, no. So now, let me, in a way that now, because once the conclusion that your premises logically leads to is something that you don't like because it would benefit your side and your ideology, now you want to change the premises. So let me steel man your argument for you because we're just going to be here for 40 minutes as you realize that you're a fucking idiot and continue to get the premises wrong over and over. Your argument is it is only wrong for a foreign government to try to influence our elections if they do it clandestinely.
Yes? What do you want me to?
Is that your argument now?
Yeah, explain what clandestinely means to me.
Covertly.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so it's perfectly fine for a foreign government to try to influence our election as long as they say, I'm from a foreign government.
Sure. I mean, the way that you're using it, yes.
Okay, so I just want to be clear. So then it's absurd that Russia.
I agree that like news organizations can do it. Like I'm not saying that we should remove all news organizations.
You disagree with the banning of Russian Times in the United States, right?
I guess. I mean, I didn't know about that.
Well, they did. They banned RT off a lot of platforms because they said it's official Russian state media.
Oh, did they? Oh, hold on. Oh, so that's the one that was like paying people like what's his name? I can't even remember. Temple to like do the thing. Is that
I don't
the
know
RT
if it was
talking
specifically
about?
Russian Times. By the way, Michael Hatcher, you fucking idiot. When did I say this wasn't a debate? He said that I'm a quote professional debater. Like that implies that I get paid to debate. Like I'm not a professional debater in the sense that I'm getting money for it unless you consider streaming. You fucking idiot. Yeah, and Michael Hatch also says, I don't know if Tenet Media was something that got paid. RT is Russian state media. Should it be banned? Yes or no? It's simple.
No, I guess. I mean, I don't think so.
Okay, well,
I would have to know more. I mean, I would have to know more. But like, I think if you're, what is Havaritz or like Al Jazeera banned? I mean, that's like kind of state media adjacent, right? For
I mean, it's just it's so like I love talking to people like you. So we got to like, well.
I mean, you're bringing up things I would have to look up. I want to be honest. I'm trying to be honest in the conversation. That's all I'm saying. Like, if I don't know, I will tell you.
I mean, it's just we get to this point because you're trying to make excuses why 13 fucking nobodies in Russia that we knew there was zero chance of ever extraditing, like trolled on social media.
So
and you're like, well, that's a serious crime.
You're saying
we're
trolled on? It was a corporation that was meant to covertly.
So what? So what?
I'm saying that's a bad thing. I don't know if
you
there's laws against
bad.
that.
It's not worth.
I'm assuming there is laws that are charging them with something.
On the scale of things that would be worth charging foreign nationals for, that's very low compared to literally the spy that was responsible for the start of the entire Russian investigation.
You look at the framing.
They absolutely had proof.
Who had more? I would say that the people who had hundreds of thousands of followers, more millions of followers across all social medias, right, had more impact on the American election than.
Okay, so tell me some of the things they were saying.
Mifsud.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
I mean, you just want me to like.
Yeah.
You need me to have every quote. You need me to have every quote.
Unbeknownst to me, these 13 dudes with bot accounts changed the American election.
Unbeknownst to you, there was hundreds of thousands. Like you didn't believe that at first, right? Unbeknownst to you, there was hundreds of thousands of people following this, and they reached
hundreds of
26 million
count,
people.
But there were 13 people. Right? It was 13 people.
That they were charged? Yeah, I mean, I would assume they charged people higher up in the company,
so they had
right?
botted accounts. Now, when it says reached like 12.6 million, like I've looked into this. What it means is like if you're scrolling on Facebook and you don't stop and look, that counts as a view, right? So yes, these people, by the way, any bots that are also putting up, that counts as a view for that, right? So there's no evidence whatsoever. In an election that literally Hillary Clinton spent $1.2 billion, we're being told that these 13 people creating bot accounts was able to sway the election in a serious way, or at least impact in a serious way. Now, first up, my question would be, how much money did they end up spending to create these bot accounts? Presumably not much. We know they spent $100,000 on ads, but how much do you think it cost them to create these bot accounts? A couple $1,000?
Yeah, I mean, it would. I would assume it's actually pretty expensive.
How expensive do you think it would be to get
bots
to do this?
For how long they were doing it? For how long they were doing it, they would have to get servers, and they would have to kind of. They're going to get banned on the sites if they're actually showing from Russia, right? Okay. If they're all showing from the same place.
Cool. So how much do you think it would cost?
I would say hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay, let's go with that. Let's say $1 million. Let's say $1 million. You need to immediately go to every political campaign and say, listen, you're spending billions of dollars. What a fucking idiot. All you have to do is spend $100,000 and get a bot farm, and you'll have millions of engagement. That's all you have to do. Why are you spending money? That's more impactful than the $1.2 billion that you would otherwise spend. Why doesn't everyone just do this?
Because it's immoral? Why does everybody...
I mean, come on.
Why doesn't everybody steal? I mean, what are you talking about?
Wait a minute. You really think that these... So you think, for example, Donald Trump would be concerned about the morality of this?
I think that they didn't know about this. I don't think they knew how to do this.
That was 2016.
And
now we're in 2025.
They may do it now.
Okay, then why bother to spend all this money on ads? That's all you have to do is just have bot farms and bam, great.
Well, they need both.
It has nothing... The point is, you know, and I know, and everyone watching knows that this is massively overselling what bot farms could do. Everybody knows it. You know it.
Disagree.
You deep down know it. You know you're full of shit.
No, it says multiple Twitter accounts. You don't know. I mean, multiple Twitter accounts that are posing as like the Tennessee Republican Party or posing as like
the Tea Party. I see her in the chat. How about me and Jess? And let's see who else. Who else is here that I know? Fuel My Fire. And Scott Hotbed, that's multiple of us. Let's create Twitter accounts. We each create a Twitter account and we'll say Trump's good. Holy fuck, we just won the 2028 election, baby. And multiple Twitter accounts. No way.
It doesn't seem that easy.
That's 5. Now we're up to 5.
It doesn't seem that easy to get followers, though, does it? It doesn't seem that easy to get followers. I mean, if you thought, is it that easy?
Bought them.
You bought them? But then you're not getting engagement. They're getting engagement, though, aren't they? They're reaching millions of people.
Again, correct? What does that mean? What does reaching millions of people mean? What does that mean?
I mean, it doesn't. I would assume that it says 126 million people saw the post.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, you say that it's just like them scrolling over it, but
Rothmas,
I don't know what the percentage is.
So right now, let me put a tweet on screen. Ready?
Sure.
This is just the first one I found today. Rothman says, people whose jobs require them to enter someone else's house, such as plumbers and electricians, what was the weirdest thing you've seen? My wife. Holy shit, that reached 2.3 million people.
Yeah, I mean, these were Facebook groups, though. What I was talking about was Facebook groups.
This guy, Rothman, could literally shake the foundation of the world. He could put a tweet up about a wife joke, and it reaches one tweet, reached 2.3 million people. 2.3 million. That's insane. Like, we might as well get rid of Fox News and CNN and the New York Times.
I would assume Facebook groups have...
That one post...
I'm not on Facebook.
One post, 2.3 million.
I would assume...
Holy shit, if he puts 10 posts out of wife jokes, that means that he just reached 20.3 million people. If he puts 100, holy shit, that's almost the entire voting population of the United States. If he would put 1,000 wife joke tweets out, he would reach 2 billion people. Holy fuck.
Tell me, you may have this information. I'm asking you a question. You may have more information than me.
What are we going to do about Rothmas? I mean, seriously, this guy's going to shake the foundation of the world.
Yeah, if he was a foreign operative with the intent to undermine the United States, then yeah, I think he should be.
We should immediately investigate.
If
he works for such as the British government, and he hates Donald Trump and he wants to take down Donald Trump, this guy needs to be in jail.
If we had strong evidence or good evidence that he was a part of a foreign national group with the intent to undermine the United States, then I think we should do that.
Okay. So Rothmas, real, and you would admit, you'd be like, holy fuck, Rob Knorr explained to me how with just 100 posts, this guy could basically reach the entire voting population in the United States. That's fucking insane. That's so dangerous. That's fucking brutal, right? That's what you would admit.
But I was talking about Facebook groups with the 29 million, correct? And
yes,
126 million
people. They count views like that as well.
Well, how do Facebook group post? Don't you have to be in the group to see this?
Okay.
Don't you have to be going to that site? It's not going to your feed, is it? The Facebook group post? You would have to, so I mean, it would be people inside the groups that are saying 300,000 people following it, right?
So how many posts were seen on their Facebook group? Go.
It was, well, that's what I said, 29 million U.S. persons, 126 million people. And
saw
that's what it
exclusively,
says.
Not all of their social media, but saw exclusively their posts on Facebook groups that you had to go to the group to see.
Well, it says Facebook group had over page 26 of the Mueller report.
Okay, prove it. Let's hear what it says. Go for it. Now, what you're going to say this says is that people
I've already read it off
before.
Before.
What you're going to say is people had to go to their group, look for the post in order for it to count. And how many people
it doesn't
saw
say
this?
that, but I'm assuming. I asked you if you knew that's how that worked. That's how I assume it works. How many people is it claiming
saw these Facebook posts?
29 million.
29 million people saw these Facebook posts. Okay, 29 people were affected by this. Okay, 29 million. And it was because all of these posts on Facebook that this is talking about was exclusively on their Facebook groups. These weren't posts that were made that other normal people on Facebook could see. You had to specifically be a member of it.
Repost it or something. Yeah, I'm assuming you could repost it and go in there.
Wait. Let's
so that's how Facebook groups work, right? I'm not on Facebook.
Let me finish, because clearly you've thought through this. You're very amazing thinker. So that would imply if you have to be on the group to see it, then their group would have had to have 20.9 million followers on their group.
That's not. I said.
Wait a minute. How? No one else outside the group could see it. No one outside the group could see it.
Well,
you have to be a follower of the group
repost.
to see. And if 20 million people saw it, then 20 million people.
I don't use Facebook. I'm assuming I can look at a group without being followed to it.
That's the claim you just made. So in your head,
so
you're like, holy shit,
that's not
they
true.
Had 20 million.
That's not the claim I made.
They didn't. Then can you explain?
That's not the claim I made. Didn't I also say that they had 300,000 followers? I mean, they had 300,000 followers on the United Muslims of America.
300,000 people were affected. And we have no idea if they're all American.
On the Don't Shoot Us Facebook group, 250,000. Being Patriotic Facebook group, 200,000.
Okay.
Secure Borders, 130,000.
Great. Okay, that's the amount of people that were affected then.
According to Facebook, in total, the IRA controlled accounts made over 80,000 posts.
So now we don't know. Now, can you prove all those people were Americans?
Well, no. I mean, they say they believe there's 29 million people.
Can you give me the type of posts they were putting there that were so subversive?
Look at this. What you're doing. You need perfect proof. No, it's redacted. Like a lot of this stuff is redacted. What do you want me to say?
What it's redacted is that a fucking idiot like you is trying to spread this narrative that somehow, oh my God, millions of engagement, millions of views.
I mean, you can look up the accounts. Look up United Muslims America, Facebook ID 147999368. Like, what do you want me to say?
Click it. Look it.
Well, I mean, okay.
Click it. Those fucking Muslims, right? Those dastardly Russians trying to get Trump to win by pushing Muslim issues.
I mean, there was. Wait, do you not believe that, like, a place like Dearborn, Michigan, did not come out and vote for Kamala Harris because
let's see the 2016 election. Let's check it out. So 2016 election. Let's see. In the 2016 election, who did Muslims primarily vote for?
I'm assuming they did, but like,
some of the posts, by the way, that
like you could say that the
show me some of the posts that Muslims Americans group here that you're talking about made in the 2016 election. Let's see them. Oh, that's weird. CARE says that 72% of Muslims voted for Hillary. That's up from 68% who supported Barack Obama in 2012. Sounds like the Muslims for America group did a fucking bang-up job increasing the share of Muslims. 3/4 of Muslims voted for Hillary Clinton. How could it be, though? Wait. Seriously, Folsom. How could this be? No, wait, Folsom. Wait. How could this be? How could clearly the Muslims for America Facebook group was so monolithically powerful. It makes no sense how Muslims wouldn't have overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump. I mean, this group literally, if you're looking at the strongest powers in the world, you'd have to put like United States, China, and then Muslims for America Facebook group. And it has to go in that order. Then maybe Microsoft underneath that, or Tesla, or something, right? Like, but that surely the UN bows to the power of the Muslims for America Facebook group. We haven't even. That's right, Wagir. We haven't even got to the ads they put on Pokemon Go. Oh my God! This is
absurd thing. I mean, what are you doing?
Well, let's see if Rothmas made another post yet.
You do it like these appeal to extremes, like just because it's smaller. But do you think if it has 300,000 people, it couldn't have influenced anybody? What are you talking about? Just because it was smaller.
Let's see if Rothmas had any other posts.
You're saying such crazy. You know you're wrong. You know you're wrong. Yeah, you should be panicking because you're so fucking wrong.
What am I wrong about here? What am I wrong about?
You're wrong. You're acting like they couldn't influence anybody. You're comparing them to large organizations. Like, oh, this one's larger, so it
influence anyone. I'm saying that in an election where $1.2 billion was spent by Hillary Clinton, that look at Facebook groups and say, this is a serious fucking crime, is a joke. That it had any serious influence or that it's a serious crime. It's a fucking joke. You know it, I know it, and everyone watching knows it. And when you're looking at the number and you're like, yeah, but 20 million engaged.
In a lot of these contested areas, the vote was decided by like 5,000 votes,
maybe
right?
It was people that had to join the groups because maybe that's
Do you not agree that in the 2016 election,
it's a fucking joke.
Do you not agree that in the
You are a joke. You're a fucking joke.
Do you not agree in the 2016 election that the election was decided by like 5,000 voters in some areas, right? In contested areas. Do you not agree that there were small margins of victory by Donald Trump in areas, correct?
Sure, that's true.
Okay, so if it did affect some people, if it affected a third of the 300,000, it would be very important, right?
I just want to be clear here. So your argument is that any foreign national, we should investigate them all to see if they're gonna, like, we need to increase like
fallacious.
Maybe 1 million people. No, because the argument you're making, you're looking at this in the vacuum. There was no there were no bots on Hillary's side. There were no foreign groups that were on Hillary's side. It was just these bots, by the way, that were pushing stuff. I'm still waiting for you to show me some of these posts because many of the posts were about things like Black Lives Matter.
They were deleted, by the way. I mean, it says they were deleted, but I'm like reading an NPR article trying to find them. But what do you want me to say?
Black Lives Matter. We're about LGBT issues. Half the posts weren't seen until after the election. So half the posts were roughly for Democrats. Half the posts weren't seen until after the election. You're like,
yeah, because they're trying to move Democrats over, right? And it's not like the only thing, right?
Well, listen, when I'm defending that the FBI shouldn't have gone after the central spy that spread the Russian shit in the first place, but they should go after 13 trolls in Russia.
What would they have charged them with?
Please, wait. Keep that in context, right? Isn't it true that if there was a specific district that was decided by like 5,000 votes, that hypothetically that a big Facebook group could have affected like a third of those people? Hence, that proves my point why we should aggressively go after internet trolls as opposed to the central spies that were involved in the whole thing. But let's use that logic, right? So
if you're right, that he was,
that's fine. So if you're right, so if your logic is true,
you said that earlier.
If it's such a close election, then you would argue that any impropriety by the FBI could have swung the election, correct?
Yes.
So if there were leaks, so if there were leaks, for example, by the FBI or by intelligence to the press,
try them if they did something wrong. I don't care. I don't care if they did something wrong.
It has nothing to do with try them. We all know that sometimes justice doesn't occur. I'm saying that you're willing to admit that that would have affected the election, correct?
There is a lot of things that could affect the election.
No, I don't
try to stop all of them.
That's not the fucking argument you just made. You said it was such a tight election, and these people in the Muslims for America group, they could have affected the election. Wouldn't you acknowledge it because it was so tight? And I was like, yeah, but there's a billion fucking different things. It's so low, like it's ridiculous to think that this was a meaningful impact, but it could have had an impact. Okay, a much bigger impact would be our intelligence agencies going along with the plan from Hillary Clinton to smear Trump as being connected to Russia, conspiring with Russia, and then on the day that Barack Obama,
I agree. In the same way that way that Russia releasing Hillary's emails could have affected the election, right? And if there was anything,
if
there was any collusion, right?
So I would say, sure, Russia bad, but FBI bad too.
How's it a whataboutism?
Wait.
How's it whataboutism actually? Because what is a whataboutism?
Okay.
They are related, and I'm saying that
what you're doing is you're like, IRA bad, could it theoretically affected the election? I say yes. FBI bad, Obama bad, CIA bad because they did stuff, and you're like, yes, but also Russia bad again. Okay, that's great. Russia bad, got it. IRA bad, Russia bad, BBC. Listen to me.
I'm just saying we're just showing where you're not consistent.
Listen. Russia's bad. The Internet Research Agency's bad. Every Trump supporter that ever said something that wasn't true affecting the election, they're bad. Every government that posted anything out to affect the election, they're bad. Anybody who spread disinformation, misinformation is bad online, they're bad. Yep, got it. Everyone's bad. All those people are bad. And you're going to say, but Russia did this. Russia's the fucking worst. They're bad. China did this. Horrible. They're bad. North Korea did this. Horrible. They're bad.
But what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? I told you. It's like, yeah, sure. If they committed a crime, we should
was on the corruption
investigate
of the
it
FBI. And what we saw going in. So they're bad too, right?
Sure. If they did something wrong, we should.
Appreciate it. All right. That was fun. Let's get the super chats in. There you have it. George Papadopoulos worked for Ben Carson. And also, let's not forget, Internet Research Agency bad. Muslims for America. Keep an eye on that Rothmas guy. Keep an eye on him. His posts are brutal, man. It's crazy. If you see any other post, right, where you see millions of people that have seen it, holy shit, look at this. I just want to show you this. This is blowing my mind. You're not going to believe this. This says, oh my God. Now brace yourself. Facebook's once bought a VPN app for 120 million and turned it into a surveillance tool that spied on 33 million users' entire phones for years. Oh my God. This helped Zuck buy WhatsApp for a whopping $19 billion and break Snapchat's encryption. You're not going to believe this. That has 23 million views. 23 million. This guy's literally more powerful than every nation in the world. 23 million people. If he puts up 4 posts, he literally just meets 100 million people. 40 posts and he's 1 billion people now. I don't want to alarm you. If this guy posts 320 times, he'll literally have the entire population of the world under his control. Over 8 billion people. I don't know what to say. It's fucking brutal. Folsom, we'll give you the last word, my friend. Go ahead, you can have your last word.
Okay, well.
Are you freaked out? That dude could reach fucking 8 billion people?
You know you're being bad faith. You have 12,000 subscribers. You have 180 viewers right now. You know that having that many followers is... you can reach a ton of people. I don't know what you're talking about, but whatever, doesn't matter.
So if I can reach a ton of people, right, that would mean that pretty much, again, then I don't
I'm saying that they could reach.
I don't know what to say. Yeah. I'm not being bad faith. You're being bad faith by assuming that because it says, oh my God, there were 20 million people that saw this post. Holy fuck, that has so much of an effect on election. It's a joke. I'm literally showing you X posts that have 23 million engagement. I just contributed to it. In fact, everybody, do you understand the stupidity? Scrolling through counts as an engagement with that. Just scrolling by.
They had a lot of accounts, and I wasn't talking about Twitter accounts. And you can read the Twitter accounts, and they probably had more views, right? You assume they had more views because they had 60,000 followers.
The fact that you're trying to say that this is more serious than the central alleged Russian spy, that you're trying to say that this is more serious than the actual alleged Russian spy that started all this is a fucking joke.
If you just pull up the Mueller report and look at that, but that's fine. Okay.
I read the Mueller report. It was a joke then. It's a joke now that the Internet Research Agency affected the election. They were unable to prove that it affected the election in any way whatsoever.
Okay. That's fine. I don't
yes or no? Is that true?
Time.
Is that true?
That they affected the election in any way?
Correct.
No, I would disagree. I'd say
they were unable to prove that, right?
It's a very hard thing to prove. They did have a ton of people. Like, what are you saying? You couldn't prove anything. Like, I could say it's just something you couldn't possibly prove. That's fine.
What exactly was the crime that they were charged with, by the way? And what happened with that?
Well, I mean, obviously they weren't found, right? They weren't.
Were the charges eventually dropped?
I guess they were, right? I mean, they were.
Why? So this is such a heinous crime, and they clearly had proof, right? Why would they drop the charges?
Conspiracy to commit offense against the United States. aggravated identity theft, conspiracy, laundering money. Let's see, Boris Atnov. I mean, I can just like pull it up if you want me to, but I guess I don't know the court cases. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not.
But see, you've read the Mueller report, and you know they had these people dead to rights, right?
No, I mean they had these people. I think they had good information that they did. They charged them, but they couldn't try them. What are you talking about? Because they weren't. So
the charges were partially dropped against Concord Management and Consulting LLC and Concord Catering, the two groups that these worked on.
Well, okay, partially dropped. So they still were, I'm assuming there's conspiracy to commit an offense against the United States, right?
Decision was announced. The groups that they worked for, it was dropped against. I don't understand why. These groups are so fucking nefarious. It's brutal. I don't know, man. I'm fucking literally shitting my pants right now. What if
okay.
Holy shit. What if they start blue sky accounts? We're fucked. What about Instagram? Hot tub streams? We're shit out of luck, man. This is fucking brutal.
No, I agree.
You're in the unenviable position of having defended that the central Russian spy that we're told is the official narrative by everyone, by FBI, by the Mueller team, by all the Democrats, the central figure that started it all, Joseph Mifsud, right? Him, isn't as important to charge him when you dead to rights have him on the crime of lying to the FBI, and I bet they have enough to charge him with some of these other things, spreading misinformation, etc.
They would have enough for Papadopoulos, and they only put him in jail for 24 hours, so that's fine. But
doesn't matter. That's still yes or no. Is that figure? If the FBI believes he was a central spy, forget about easier. Is that figure more of a threat to the United States electoral
even
system?
If they believe that, they would have to have proof of that.
They don't have to prove it. Like, let me explain this again. How did they get Al Capone? Everybody thought he was a real bad dude, right?
Yeah.
Wait, but why? Tax fraud, it's not that big of a deal. Why bother to go after him? Why did they put so much effort in going after him for tax fraud? Like, a lot of people commit. Why would they put so much effort in going after him?
But they could not have.
I want you to answer my question. Al Capone was a guy that committed tax fraud, right?
Well, obviously
not. That's it. So why? What do you mean, obviously not? I don't understand.
Well, I mean, obviously, what do you mean? He was only charged with it, right? I mean, that's all he was convicted for.
Let me, for those people like,
but like Al Capone was like obviously
that feign ignorance, right? That don't understand this. The crime of tax fraud wasn't really why they were so interested in Al Capone. They were trying to get something on it. But let me finish, please. No, you don't know that. You're saying you know that now, but you're full of shit because when it comes to a commiserate situation, you're feigning ignorance. Like, I don't know that. I don't know. So they
no, wait, hold on. Wait, what do you think I said? I said, you said, what is he?
Please, I'll tell you exactly what you said. You said, just because they think that Joseph Mifsud is the central figure that engaged in spying and started the entire infiltration into our U.S. election system trying to go after Donald Trump, doesn't mean that they should charge him for obvious crimes that they knew, because those obvious crimes wouldn't carry a lengthy sentence. So therefore, it wouldn't be worth to do it. And I'm like, yes, but they do this all the time. They find figures that they believe committed heinous crimes, but they don't have 100% proof that they think that they would be able to try it in a court of law. And so instead, what they do is find lesser crimes that they're able to punish them to the maximum extent. You're like, yeah, but don't do that with Mifsud. Don't do that. Why don't you tell me what the maximum length of sentence he was looking at for lying to FBI?
It was 5 years.
Oh, that's not a lot, right? Wouldn't be worth charging him for that. This central Russian spy wouldn't be worth it, right?
They would have to have proof, and it's very.
They have the proof. They make statements. They have as much proof that they have that Papadopoulos.
They would have to extradite. I'll agree with you that maybe they should have done that. Sure, but can I understand why they didn't do that if they have to extradite him?
They had to extradite Russian trolls that were posting on Facebook, and they said, yes, we're going to try to do that.
What's the max? What's the max for conspiracy against the United States?
You tell me.
I don't know either. I mean, I have the thing up. I can see. Let's see. A prison not more than 5 years, but there was 10 counts. And then there was also aggravated identity theft and conspiracy to launder money. So
it's a joke. Everybody knows.
Well, there was 10 counts.
They could have certainly. They had as much proof to prove fucking Mifsud was in a conspiracy to defraud the United States as well, by literally in their claims they have proof positive that he was connected to Russians and that he was infiltrating U.S. electoral systems by infiltrating one of the parties. They could have charged, and the FBI was fucking gung-ho to charge everyone they could for any crime and would have got convictions on all of it because these charges would have probably been in D.C. where a rabid left-wing fucking jury base would have been like, fucking yes, Russia, 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 Trump, Trump, Trump. So they would have been able to secure convictions if they wanted. As always, what happens is the FBI is as aggressive as possible when it comes to coming after Trump people and as light as possible when it comes to going after people that are his opponents. But for some reason, up until the point
because they got Hunter Biden on gun charges for lying
up until the point where they went after
they were hard. When have they ever done that? There was like four other cases. Wake up and
okay. All right, here we go.
So like I was saying I don't want. I've been here for an hour. I'm just saying let's be honest. Let's be honest. What did they get? Did they charge him with a gun crime for?
Here we go. First, I'm going to finish my point. They went after for lying for the FBI everyone they could that was connected to Trump, including a 3-star general, but they neglected to do it against the actual person they were accusing of being the Central Russian spy. Hunter Biden. Here's what happened. The FBI covered up for the crimes of Hunter Biden for years. Up until the point where the IRS was investigating the tax fraud crimes of Hunter Biden, they were specifically told, whistleblowers said, that they were not allowed to go after a lot of things that were connected to Joe Biden, which would have led to things like FARA violations, etc. The FBI intentionally... I
don't want to go into it. I've been here for an hour, but let's listen. All I was saying, you said they are going after...
Yes,
Trump
I'm explaining the situation.
They're going after people in the Trump campaign for things that they never go after people for. But even though in the Hunter Biden situation, they tried him for a crime that they never tried anybody for.
I know. Listen, maybe if I posted this and it got 20 million Twitter views, then you would listen.
Yeah, then I would have saw it.
I'll send it to Rothmas, right? So
send it to him. Send it to him. I might see it.
The FBI covered up for his crimes. Then when they no longer could, when it became evident because the public saw what was happening, because whistleblowers came out and were like, look, he clearly violated these tax policies. There's strong evidence to suggest he clearly violated FARA violations, right? Didn't register as a foreign lobbyist. Then, as a sweep-up job, the Biden administration was like, well, we'll give him a slap on the wrist. The first thing they tried to do was have this sweetheart plea deal that basically would have meant that he pled guilty to some nothing crimes with like no penalty and would have been given basically immunity from the rest of the stuff that he did. However, a judge in that trial was like, have you ever seen a plea deal like this before? To what the prosecution had to admit, no, we've never done this. And so because that judge spoke up and was showing how hinky it was, all of a sudden they changed their mind. It was like, never mind, we got to go back to the drawing table. Then they did charge Hunter Biden with probably the one crime that shouldn't have been charged, which was the gun charge. But they knew they could give him a slap on the wrist. The reason they did that was because the other charges would have connected to his father, who was running again for president of the United States. Because the real charges that mattered were the fact that he was selling access to his father and being paid handsomely for it. So had he been charged with the obvious failing to register as a foreign lobby charge, the obvious question the American people would have asked was, who was he lobbying to? We know who he was lobbying from, these institutions like Burisma, but they're paying him to convince U.S. politicians of something. Who are the politicians he was trying to convince? And if he was convicted of a crime, the Biden administration totally understood that the narrative would have been, holy shit, he was selling access to his father. And so they were like, we'll charge him on this gun crime, because that's the one thing we can't connect to daddy. We'll charge him, and then at the end of the day, daddy will pardon him, which is exactly what happened.
Well, okay. I was just okay. Who was head of that investigation? It was Republicans, correct?
During the Biden administration? No, that would have been Biden's Department of Justice.
No, but he purposely put somebody that was put in place by Donald Trump, correct?
Who?
Over that investigation? I can't remember the names. I didn't come here to talk about
so
that.
You're saying that, you're saying that the attorney that Joe Biden's team specifically selected was originally appointed by Trump. Therefore, it's Trump's fault?
No, what are you talking about? I'm saying
you're
that
making it
they were
you're
trying
saying that
to
the attorney
they were trying to be as impartial as possible.
No, they
is
won't.
What my assumption is due to that. But I don't have all the information right now because I did not come to talk about that. But
you brought it up.
Well, I brought up
Let's
that you
assume
said
that's true. Let's assume it's true. I forget the name of the attorney, but he's the same one that offered the sweetheart deal. So the argument is, well, if Trump also appointed Chris Wray, right? James Comey was also a Republican, so therefore there couldn't have been any corruption. Yeah, let me repeat for the bajillionth time. Donald Trump appointed really bad people, and that doesn't excuse them of committing crimes or being corrupted. It's like, well, they were appointed by Trump, so there. So how's that a defense to anything? Cool, interesting tidbit, nice trivia fact.
Okay, can
David Weiss.
Hey, Let me have a second and say, I think you should read off your super chats when you're speaking to people. That it would influence them to donate more money. But the guy who just donated,
advice.
And the guy who just put a super chat in said, any of us regular Joes got charged with the same gun crime Hunter was, we'd all be rotting in jail right now. If you look up and see how many people were charged with the same crime, it's always in tandem with another violent gun crime, right? That they got it illegally and they lied on it. He is one of the only people that just checked a box and that they know was a drug addict and charged him for that. So let's not pretend.
I mean, again, it's irrelevant. I'm glad that you're responding to someone in the chat. It's not an argument I made. It is true that probably a lot of people would have been charged with a lot of crimes, including other drug crimes, if their name wasn't Biden. But what I think is unique about this is I think it's very rare to go back retrospectively like they did with Hunter. But the reason they did it was because their hand was forced. I don't give a shit that David Weiss was originally appointed by Trump. It's a non-answer.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. I'm saying that you would have to prove that they have, that they were doing that. You understand? You have to prove that they were being...
I don't have to prove shit.
You would if you're making the claim that it was faulty, like prove
to me that the Internet Research Agency affected the election.
Okay, what I'm saying
prove it.
I can say we could assume that happened because they had hundreds of thousands of followers.
I could assume based on the evidence I've seen
Millions
from the whistleblowers
followers
that came out, from the judge that came out and released a statement about the initial plea deal that was given to him. I could assume. I don't have to prove it in a court of law. It is enough proof for the reasonable person to see that they were trying to give a sweetheart deal to Hunter Biden.
I don't think that. They got him for tax fraud. They got him for other things too, which he did commit, and he should be charged for. That's how.
And he got pardoned by Daddy. They tried to cover up for it. They let the tax fraud charges, which were blatant, which they knew, they let many of them expire. So the idea, like your idea is, well, they went after this one Democrat once. That proves there's no bias. It's absurd.
It is to say that they do go after Democrats sometimes. They go after everybody.
That's true. Sometimes they go after Democrats. And what I said was almost in every instance, they went after Trump and Trump-connected people as aggressively as possible. And when it came to his direct opponents, they tried to go as light as possible. With Joe Biden, with Hunter Biden, we have IRS whistleblowers saying we were told we couldn't go after him. We couldn't look into his dad's finances. We literally had a plea deal that the judge got the prosecution to admit was unheard of. No one ever done it before, right? They intentionally allowed tax charges to lapse the statute of limitations, right? And then they ended up charging with a gun crime that they knew Daddy was going to pardon him from in the first place. That was basically a nothing charge. But that's your proof. Like, see, sometimes they go after Trump's opponents.
Yeah. I mean, they go after Trump's. What are you saying? You're just saying things like I don't know. What
I'm not. I can back it up with proof. I can back up everything I say with proof.
Okay. Well, I don't even know if that's true. From our first
mishandling classified information. Did they go after Trump?
What? Yes.
Did they go after Hillary?
No, I don't think so. I think they researched into it, but they're different things. They're different things. Wait, why was the reason they went after Trump? By the way,
you tell me.
Is it because he was moving them around in his house and hiding it and not trying to give them back? But when Joe Biden was trying to,
that happened.
Yes. They were hiding them. Yes, they were. They were.
Wait, what?
He told people that people that worked for him inside Mar-a-Lago to move around the boxes. They weren't.
Wait. What boxes?
Boxes of files, whatever that were classified.
Oh, so wait, this really happened. So Trump's team, they were trying to subpoena evidence, and Trump's team was trying to hide boxes to move them.
I mean, I don't want to say hide, but they were not instantly giving over the files in the same way.
Wait. I swear to God, I'm going to take your word for this. I hadn't heard this. So then I guess the implication would be if an entity is lawfully subpoenaing something and you're trying to not cooperate, trying to hide it or move it around, that would be like obstruction. That's true, right?
Sure. So where's the gotcha? I feel like you have a gotcha here.
That's why they went after Trump then.
Yeah.
Wow, that is fucking crazy. Hey, remember when Hillary's team deleted subpoenaed evidence?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's worse than moving boxes that you eventually get, right?
Well, but you would have to prove that they did that with the intent, right? And they said they didn't do it with the intention.
No. We absolutely, there is nothing intent necessary for, all they have to prove is that they knew the evidence was subpoenaed and intentionally deleted it. They did. They 100% have proof of it.
Is that even true? Like,
yes, that's true.
You can just assume that the evidence was wrong, right? Isn't this the thing where, like,
no, it's absolutely 100% admitted. The FBI knew that was the case. The evidence was subpoenaed. Everyone, first off, it would defy belief that the people in Hillary's team did not know that there was a subpoena. That's insane.
Sorry, they would be with intention. Like, what if it was already scheduled to be deleted, right?
It would be irrelevant. Like, for example, if I'm scheduled to clean out my garage every 3 months, and the FBI says we're coming tomorrow.
Yeah, except if you had a robot that. Sorry.
And I say, oh shit, I forgot last week my wife asked me to clean out the garage. I guess I'm going to clean all this shit and burn it. Do you think the FBI would say, fair enough, you had scheduled?
If you had a robot that was cleaning your garage, then sure, and you didn't stop it, you forgot about it. I think, but like it was a.
I guess, or if we're all brains in a vat and this is all a simulation, what does it matter? Yeah, sure, you could have hypotheticals that have nothing.
No, what I'm saying is,
did Hillary's team have a robot that was deleting the subpoenaed
material?
Well,
I think the claim was that it was scheduled to be deleted. Like, not a person goes in and deletes it, but that it is a thing that happens after a certain time.
No, that's not true. Let me inform you what happened. So once more another story that you don't know about. What had happened was this. There was this guy named Paul Combetta that was the IT guy for the Hillary team, right? And he was informed that there was a subpoena. Now, this makes sense. Consider this. You're an IT guy. Yeah, you're working for like Hillary Clinton, but this is literally the biggest thing that will ever happen to your job in history. You literally have to comply with a congressional subpoena. Now, he knows the severity of that and later admitted that he knew that it would be a crime. Now, he meets with Cheryl Mills, who's Hillary's top attorney, 3 days before the incident we're about to talk to. He can't remember what he talked to Cheryl Mills about. 3 days later, he's driving to work to comply with the subpoena, and he claims that on his drive to work, he had a, quote, oh shit moment, where he remembered a conversation he had with Cheryl Mills 6 months prior, where she asked him to delete evidence. So he knowingly goes in and violates the subpoena by destroying the lawfully subpoenaed emails. That's what happened. It wasn't a robot. It wasn't that it was on a timer.
Okay. Well, if this is true, because obviously I don't have the information, right? Obviously I don't have the information then if this is true, then they should try her as well. That's all I'm saying. But the thing is, right. I have a feeling it's not, because you, in the case of the Mueller report, you were wrong.
About
in the case of
what was I wrong about with the Mueller report? Go ahead.
You did not know the timeline of when Papadopoulos met Mifsud, which means that your understanding was incomplete, which made you wrong.
Nothing I said about the Mueller report was wrong. You're saying because I didn't say everything I said was true, but here's the caveat: because I didn't say, but Mifsud met Papadopoulos 6 days after he joined the Trump team. Well, that proves I was wrong about the Mueller report.
No, that doesn't prove that you were wrong. Sorry, listen, what I'm saying is that you do not know the timeline, but you're arguing the timeline.
I do know the timeline of the relevant facts. The fact that
those are relevant facts. Those are relevant facts, but okay. And then you want to obfuscate with the FISA. You want to obfuscate with...
It has nothing to do with obfuscating. Like, the fact that I know and have said multiple times, it wasn't long after Papadopoulos joined Trump's team that he meets this guy, Joseph Mifsud. And you're like, but you didn't say it was 6 days. You didn't say it was 6 days, so you were wrong. You're wrong about the Mueller thing. I was not wrong. Anyone that's reasonably objective would say, that doesn't mean Rob's wrong because he didn't say extraneous information that you find important that many other people might not. He didn't know that it was exactly 6 days. I mean, that's fucking laughable. It's absolutely laughable.
When you are making the claim that Papadopoulos was entrapped or whatever, not technically entrapped, but they were coming after Papadopoulos, it would be important to know how he met Mifsud. That's just a fact. Okay, you didn't know that. That's fine.
It's not that I didn't know. It's not that I didn't know. Literally what we were talking about yesterday, literally, was I was like, I showed you the testimony of Jim Jordan saying, Bob Mueller.
We talked for a long time, yeah.
Right? Yeah, I showed you. None of that's wrong. None of it's wrong. You looked at that and said, oh, you didn't say, well.
Yeah, I should have said that. I should have said, you know what I should have said? If I was you, here's what I would have said. If I would just start talking about random shit. If I was you, that's what I would have said.
What random shit have I talked about? Tell me the random shit that I've talked about.
Like bringing up the FISA warrants or bringing up the...
How is the FISA warrants... How did I
It's irrelevant to Papadopoulos. It's irrelevant to... You bring it up as a as a block to the conversation. You don't want to talk about the Mueller report. You don't want to talk about the Suffolk investigation. But you would rather talk about the FISA warrants.
Yesterday, I'm talking to you, right? And the conversation had to do with the failures of the Mueller team. That's basically why you called in, correct?
Correct.
Okay. When did I bring up the FISA warrants to you in that conversation?
I mean, I don't know the timestamp.
What was the context of how I brought it up?
You brought it up very quickly. You were talking about
what was the context? I believe you tell me this sounds like how I would have. This sounds how I would have.
Here's how you did it. You said that you were doing it to undermine the report. Is what you're doing. You're doing it to undermine the legitimacy of the report because they did things wrong. That's how you were doing it.
I think probably what I was doing is talking about the overarching theme, which is the corruption and the things that were done
so what
wrong.
I just said.
Okay, so how is that wrong to do?
Well, because it has nothing to do with the factual evidence that they found. It has nothing to do with that.
What factual
correct?
evidence did they find?
They found that there was that. Well, I mean, they found tax fraud and stuff on Manafort. What are you talking about? But not even that.
So your argument is when
they found conspiracy against the.
When I'm talking about the failures of the Mueller report, you're like, instead I should just focus on, they found tax things on Manafort. That's
and conspiracy.
So
conspiracy to launder money, conspiracy to commit an offense against the United States.
When talking about the failures and corruption in Mueller and the FBI, it's not fair to talk about the illegal FISA warrants that they got on Carter Page. That's your argument.
Well, do you agree that Paul Manafort was charged with conspiracy against the United States and conspiracy to obstruct justice, right?
Yes, he lied, and he was charged with crimes relating to 2013 when he worked with the Podesta group. That was Hillary Clinton's campaign managers group. Yes, you acknowledge that, right?
Yes, it was before.
Okay, so can you explain, by the way, just quick aside here, if there isn't a double
standard... Well, it was partially before. I mean, he still had connections with the people, but yeah, sure.
Why was the Podesta group allowed to retroactively file paperwork for committing the same crime at the same time with the same people as Manafort? Why did Manafort get charged with that, but the Podesta group, no one got charged? They were allowed to retroactively file paperwork. Why?
I don't know. Maybe they didn't commit as bad of a crime. Maybe they did. I don't know. I don't know the information. You're going to say, because here's what you do. Here's what you do. You name random stuff over and over, and you try to catch somebody. You just know, not really, because you don't know the facts.
You haven't said anything that wasn't a fact. Literally, your arguments as to where I've been wrong is this. We didn't say that it was exactly 6 days before Papadopoulos. I had to bring that up. But the fact when I'm talking about corruption between the FBI, the fact that when I'm talking about corruption between Mueller and the FBI, I shouldn't be allowed.
You don't know how many people were.
It's extraneous to bring up the fact that the FBI got illegal FISA Carter Page.
So with the social media campaigns, you frame them as 13 posts or 13 people who are making posts.
Correct.
On
$100,000 ads
Pokemon
Go and Facebook. Correct.
That's what you frame it as. When it's hundreds of. But why would you frame it that way? Why wouldn't you be honest?
Because that's what it is. It was nothing.
Do you think there's anything else? Do you think that a person with hundreds of thousands of followers millions of followers? Do you think people with millions of followers can affect?
I think it's absolutely.
Do you think you have any effect on people? Do you think you have any effect? Your opinions.
I think my opinions have some sort of marginal effect.
So do you think people with 10 times your followers would have effect on people?
Yes. Do you think people that spend billions of dollars would mean that those people have a negligible effect?
No.
Yes, they would. You fucking idiot.
No, I don't think. I think that people on social media. I don't think
Hillary's team spent $1.2 billion fucking dollars on the election, and that's not to count the people that would be bots or the people that weren't being paid that were pushing Hillary Clinton's message.
You say negligible effect, but I mean, I think they do. Would ads on TV have more of effect? Maybe, because there's just so many more of them, but I think they all exist in a system. They all exist in a system.
And framing. Oh, you correctly point out that it was $100,000, but you don't point out that they reached 20 million people on Facebook. I do address that by showing you that Rothsmith in one post reached 20 million people. And you're just like, I guess he should be prosecuted then if he's working for a government, I guess. A fucking imbecile. You're an imbecile. Where does this prove anything that I said's wrong? Again, you can't even prove. You came in and said, I'm full of shit. And so far what you have is, because you didn't mention that Papadopoulos met Mifsud 6 days earlier, which literally changes nothing. And because I brought up the FISA warrants. It changes because you frame everything in a way where it's like impossible that this could have happened. But when it's, you frame it purposefully, I think. Or no, maybe you don't know. It's either you don't know or you're purposely framing it in bad faith, and that's fine. But if you were being honest, you would know the full timeline. Let's do this one more time, and then I'm going to let you go. Yesterday, I outlined, not in my words, I showed you testimony from Jim Jordan and Durham. Yes?
Yes.
Based on that testimony, where Jim Jordan was like, can you explain to me if Mifsud lied, why he wasn't charged? Can you explain to me if he's the central guy, why he wasn't charged? You, after seeing that testimony, nothing I said, after seeing that testimony said, wow, It looks like the most likely scenario.
Yeah, but I didn't know enough about Mifsud, and I shouldn't have said that.
Let me finish. You said based on that, the most likely scenario is Mifsud was working for Western intelligence. That's what you said, correct?
Yeah, based on that. I said based on the information I have now.
Okay,
yeah,
so
exactly
now
what I said.
Now you've learned more stuff about Mifsud. You
Correct.
learned that Mifsud met Papadopoulos 6 days after Papadopoulos started working for Trump.
I learned that he worked with the same law firm that Papadopoulos worked with, and they both were with Link University at the same place. Yeah, so that's why he has the connections. I mean, he also is a professor.
What does that have to do? Okay, so now let me steel man what you're saying. What I learned is there is a plausible scenario as to why these two people met. That doesn't
There's
have
a plausible
to do with,
scenario why he is not a Western intelligence agent.
No. But that's coming to a conclusion based on the evidence. What you're saying is they met for a reason that would obviously could be not connected to Western intelligence. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, that they couldn't be.
And therefore, because of that,
you're doing
that changes.
Bad faith shit. You're doing bad faith. I mean, what do you want me to say? Like, no, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, you're saying that there's a plausible scenario it wasn't Western intelligence. Can you explain what that plausible scenario is?
That
based on that they went to Link University.
Well, the plausible thing that they didn't. The reason I said it was plausible that he was Western intelligence is because they didn't try him. But now, knowing more information, knowing the crimes exactly that they charged Papadopoulos with, and the crimes that they had evidence for Mifsud, if they were to charge him, it wouldn't make sense because he's a foreign national, and it would be too difficult. I mean, it would just not be worth their time. So I don't believe.
So I just want to be clear.
So that's why I believe.
I just want to be clear. What you've done is move the goalpost. That is completely different to the claim that the fact that he went to Link University and met Papadopoulos 6 days after. Now you've completely moved the goalpost. You're not even talking about that now. You're saying, now that I've rethought about it, the fact that he was a foreign national would be the reason they didn't charge him. That's a completely separate argument.
They didn't charge him, but it also, so one, I believe that if he was a foreign, or if he was Western intelligence, they would have been trying to entrap him from the start, not just randomly. They wouldn't have been that coincidental. It seems unlikely.
So wait a minute. Wait. Let's explore this for a second. So let's assume in the world where it is entrapment. So they're not going to try to entrap Papadopoulos before he works for the Trump campaign, right?
Correct.
Okay, so Papadopoulos starts working for the Trump campaign. 6 days later, he runs into Joseph Mifsud. You're like, if it was entrapment, they would have done what instead? Go ahead.
How did they know he worked for the Trump campaign at that time?
I'm sure it was publicly announced to some degree.
It wasn't. It was publicly announced by Washington Post in an interview 2 weeks after.
So so I just want to be so wait a minute. Your argument is then, okay, so let's say that's true, hypothetically. I think just because me and you as members of the public didn't find out until then, I think that intelligence probably would have known the people that were officially hired on Trump's team before that. But let's assume that's not the case. They didn't know. Turns out our intelligence is pretty bad. They just get their information from reading the Washington Post. Fine. So then 6 days after, Papadopoulos runs into Joseph Mifsud, and then it's not until like 8 days after that they find out, oh, actually, Papadopoulos is Western intelligence. So now they're going to... So now they're going to...
Let's ask this. Who would have told... So do you believe that they were already spying on the Trump campaign then?
I believe they probably were.
So do you believe they just spy on all campaigns? They know who works for everyone?
I think that it was clear that they were
just the Trump campaign
going after Trump campaign. Yes.
So so you feel like they... Well, I mean, but that's just speculative, right? I mean, you don't know that.
We'll see.
So it's just a feeling. Okay, well, then how do I argue against your feeling?
Okay, so then we'll assume that I'm wrong. And so let's go with your scenario.
He met a person at...
Do you think he told Mifsud he was working for Trump's team?
I know he did, yeah.
Okay, so do you think that Mifsud would have went back, and if he was Western intelligence, do you think at that point he would have went back and say, holy shit, I just ran into someone working for Trump's team?
Sure. He also, if he also had connections with Russian officials, he would be excited about that too.
You looked at evidence yesterday and you were like, yeah,
but this looks like
let me finish. You looked at evidence yesterday and said, yeah, it looks like this guy was Western intelligence, right? Okay.
And I said I was wrong. So yeah, I was wrong.
No,
sure.
Wait, hold on. Let me finish. So then you're like, oh, I learned new shit, that you're full of shit, Rob. And what I learned, here's the first thing I learned, you motherfucker, that you're full of shit. Mifsud met Papadopoulos 6 days after. So there. And I'm like, how does this fucking dispositive of Mifsud could have been Western intelligence? And
It
so
doesn't-
now that
it's
we're
not
going
full-
through the
well, I
timeline,
also
what you're
agree that
saying
it's-
is,
it just
what
shows
you're
it's not
saying is,
premeditated.
no, what you're saying is, under your interpretation, Western
agree with.
intelligence wouldn't have known Papadopoulos was working for Trump until he tells Joseph Mifsud. Now, if it's true that Mifsud's Western intelligence, then all of that lines up with everything that me and Jim Jordan was saying yesterday. Now, at this point,
But it seems
serendipitously,
like-
let
yeah,
me finish.
but through emails, it seems
let
like-
me finish. Let me finish. Serendipitously, a guy that works for Trump talks to a Western intel. Then the Western intel person's like, oh, and says, well, we're going to try to entrap him from there. You're saying, that makes it less likely because in your vision, it was they found out Papadopoulos was working for Trump's team. And then after that, they said, we need to specifically find someone to find Papadopoulos that otherwise wouldn't have bumped into him. And so because that didn't happen, because it happened the former way.
I agree with you earlier,
proves-
and then something you agree with is it wasn't premeditated. That's all that would mean. And that's what I said earlier.
Okay,
It
so
wasn't
then,
premeditated. But then I would go into and say that.
Given that, then this argument that I was full of shit because the timeline doesn't
Well, I
really
can give
become.
you-
Let me finish. The timeline isn't that important at all when it comes to whether or not my conclusion and Jim Jordan's conclusion that he was and Matt Gates's conclusion he
It
was most
weakens
likely
it.
Western intelligence.
It weakens that.
How does it
you
weaken
think-
it? Explain.
Well, you
We
just
just
said
went
that
through
you
it.
believe that they were already spying on them and that it
That's
probably
true.
was premeditated. Or sorry, yeah. So like I don't know. So what do you want me to say?
But what are you talking about? In that scenario, it makes sense.
But you said it's probably premeditated because they're already spying on them. Okay, but I'm saying that I was just cutting that out. It doesn't seem likely. Whatever. But then it's Papadopoulos who was the one who's going for that. He's the one talking to them, and he's trying to get them to meet Trump. He's going over and over trying to do that. I mean, there's emails from him. I just finished a very productive lunch with a good friend of mine. Mifsud.
What happened was, who arranged the second meeting?
I believe what's her name? The Pole.
Someone connected to Mifsud, correct?
And then he responded to her after a week because he didn't know she texted him or
So
something.
someone connected to
They didn't know
Mifsud,
his
reached out to Papadopoulos, like, we should meet.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then
so then
but
it
he
was
also,
so then it was
and then multiple times
Mifsud's team.
but he also went and did it too. And then he
That's correct. No one ever argued otherwise. I admitted as such every time I talked about it, including yesterday. Yes, it's true. Mifsud's team kept being like, you should come back. And Papadopoulos was like, great, yes. I'm liking talking to this dude.
No,
None
but
of that
no,
disproves that this
he
dude would have
reached
been
out
Western
multiple times
intelligence.
too. No, sorry,
right.
hold on. It's
no
not
one,
like he,
no one
he
argued. No
started
one
the conversation
ever
multiple
argued
times.
that wasn't the case. No one ever argued that wasn't the case. Yes, it's true. This guy that was making himself out to be like this guy that was from Russia and shit. It is true that Papadopoulos sometimes was invited by Mifsud, sometimes reached out to him. None of that speaks anything to do with whether or not Mifsud dispositively wasn't Western intelligence.
We understand that Papadopoulos wanted to be a part of the Trump campaign. We understand that Papadopoulos wanted to. He found out that the Trump campaign wanted to get connections to Russia. That was something that was said in the interview, is from his testimony.
Cool.
We know that Papadopoulos, once he found that out, he tried to find connections to the Trump campaign.
Sure,
and
great.
then he started emailing people like Clovis and other
great.
Trump campaign officials
going.
that he could do this, and they were giving him positive. They were telling him to do it and saying, "Good job, okay."
Okay. Yep. Okay.
So it seems like he was a large part in trying to start these conversations. It's not like they were coming after him and they were Western
That's not
intelligence
true.
agents.
They were the ones who set him up immediately. Let's assume for a second that Mifsud was Western intelligence. Would it? If he was Western intelligence, are you saying it's impossible that while they're feeding stuff to this guy that he wouldn't ever reach out to them? That's your claim?
No, but I'm saying that we can understand his brain. We can understand his.
So if we're looking at the evidence yesterday, and you're like, based on the evidence I'm seeing that they didn't charge Mifsud, it looks like he was most likely Western intelligence. And now you're like, but Rob, you're full of shit because you didn't include that Mifsud only met him 6 days after he started. And you didn't mention, even though I did mention, but you didn't mention that Papadopoulos sometimes reached out to Mifsud. So there, none of that's dispositive in any way whatsoever.
We, knowing his like theory of mind, we understand what he can do, correct? We can like assume that he wants to do this stuff, right? He's the one reaching out. I don't know what to say. I can say it over and over.
He was interested in
very
hearing about
interested in getting a higher position inside the Trump campaign.
Okay.
True.
Yes. None of this.
So, and this is before.
You keep repeating. Let me steel man the position. Maybe George Papadopoulos wanted to be the vice president someday, and maybe he thought I could get dirt on Hillary Clinton from Russians, and that'll help me. And what does any of that have to do with whether or not Joseph Mifsud could have been Western intelligence? What does it have anything to do with it?
It doesn't have anything to do with it, but I'm just saying that it doesn't seem like because it's arguing the entrapment. It doesn't. It's arguing the entrapment. It's arguing the entrapment. It's arguing the entrapment point that you conceded earlier because you were saying, "Oh, I wasn't talking about it in a law sense. I was talking about it in a colloquial sense."
Let me say
because it wouldn't be entrapment, right? Because he wanted to do it.
When I said no, first off, it doesn't matter. Entrapment could still mean people that want to do it. For example, if I want to do, yes, that's true. For example, if I want to do cocaine. And a cop comes up to me and says, here's some cocaine, do you want to try it? And I say, oh boy, that's still entrapment. Just because I wanted to do it. Most people want to do the things that they're entrapped into. But when I say this wasn't entrapment, I'm not making a claim that it's less than entrapment. I'm making the claim that it's more than. Because entrapment's usually a term we use when getting people to commit a crime. And Papadopoulos didn't even commit a crime. It's worse than entrapment. They fed a story to Papadopoulos. They fed a story to Papadopoulos, who repeated that story to someone else. He didn't do anything illegal in the whole scale of that. It's perfectly legal to want to talk to Russians. They did not prove him of doing anything illegal other than lying to the... That is the biggest political scandal in the history of the country if that happened. That the Western intelligence created this rumor.
That's a good reason that... No, sorry. You're saying they created a rumor. He talked about it. He admitted to talking about it with foreign nationals. So what are you talking about?
Where did the rumor start? Where did the rumor start?
You're going to say it's the Australian person. What are you talking about?
No.
Australian.
So Alexander Downer told George Papadopoulos Russia has emails, and then George Papadopoulos
sorry.
told Alexander Downer Russia has emails.
I thought you were talking about with the FBI, obviously. What, you're saying Mifsud, okay. But
so
whatever.
Mifsud was Western intelligence. It doesn't matter if Papadopoulos then told everyone. That doesn't disprove that Mifsud was Western intelligence.
I mean, you're doing this whole cabal thing. I don't think that's how that works. I mean, sorry. You're saying that they did it. I mean, there's no proof for that. You're just doing conspiracy theories. There's literally zero proof for that. And you know that.
So again, we'll go back to this. Yesterday,
what you said earlier.
Yes, based on the evidence I see, it looks like Mifsud's Western intelligence.
And so why do you keep going back to yesterday if I already said no, if I already said I disagree?
Would you shut the fuck up and listen? Then you say, aha, I've learned new things that prove that's not the case. Let's hear it. Well, Mifsud met him 6 days after he joined the campaign. Then finally, after fucking an hour of pulling teeth, you're like, yeah, I guess that has nothing to do with whether or not Mifsud would be Western intelligence. Then you're like, but how about this? Papadopoulos, after he was initially introduced and proffered an invitation, he willingly went to talk to Mifsud. Therefore, that proves it can't be entrapment. And I'm like, that's not true. People that are entrapped oftentimes willingly commit the crimes they've been entrapped to do. That doesn't speak whether or not that Joseph Mifsud was Western intelligence. And you're like, but how about this? Papadopoulos willfully was telling other people the rumor. Again, yes, but that doesn't have anything to do with whether or not Mifsud was Western intelligence. Now, you can say now...
But there's no way.
Now, listen, you can say now, I changed my answer because... The reason I changed my answer is because the more I think about it, I think that they wouldn't have prosecuted Mifsud because he was a foreign national. That's my reason. And that's fine. I think that's a bad answer, but at least that's an answer. But that has nothing to do with information that I misled people. That's just you thinking about it and coming to a different conclusion. I didn't mislead to you yesterday, for example, that charging a foreign national could have come with problems. You'll admit that, right? I never misled you into that degree.
No, but what I am saying is that you are just going on crazy conspiracy-brained shit about you have no proof that he was a Western intelligence agent. Yeah, sure, if...
I have the same proofs that you believed yesterday, and the only reason that you've changed your mind is, well, now I realize it's hard to charge a foreign national.
I said with the evidence that I had of a 2-minute video, yeah, because I didn't know anything. But I know more now, and I read about it, so I have a different...
We went through the evidence.
I know more about him as an individual.
And even you were forced to admit that none of that proves that Mifsud wasn't Western intelligence. It doesn't even speak to it at all. It doesn't.
It doesn't say that he's... Yeah, it doesn't prove he's a... Western intelligence doesn't prove that he's... No, because I said the reason I believe then, which I said earlier, is because that the only reason they wouldn't charge him is because he is Western intelligence, right? That was the reason. If I said, oh, well, seems to be another reason that they wouldn't charge him, then that would make sense. And it seems probable to me that they wouldn't charge him because he's a foreign national. But that's what I said. That's why I said that.
Can I get an admission? Then all that other stuff we were talking about, that's not what's making you come to the conclusion, oh, the reason now that I think that maybe he's not Western intelligence is because there's this other explanation that he's a foreign national. And so it's hard to charge. Is that fair to say that other evidence, that's not what's impacting you? It's now you thinking about it.
I think it's all of the evidence together. Sure.
Okay, what does this other evidence over here, forget about Forget about this.
Sure.
Charge. We just went through it painstakingly. What part of that suggests that Mifsud couldn't have been Western intelligence?
It doesn't say that he wasn't Western intelligence.
I didn't say that it proves. I said that it suggests.
It doesn't do it either way, though. Either way, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
And so the only reason I believe it was possible that he's Western intelligence was that last reason. So yeah, I agree. There's the only reason that I fully changed, sure. But the thing is,
that's right. So it had nothing to do with me misleading you.
So well, hold on. No, you're doing some crazy. I said you were saying bullshit. I said you were saying bullshit.
Now, let me make Folson's argument for him. Last night, I get Folson. I'll just spin it in a little different color so you can see the absurdity of this. Folson last night sees, not my words, sees Jim Jordan's words. Matt Gates' words says, yeah, it looks like this dude was probably Western intelligence. Then he thinks about it and says, you know what? Though maybe not. Maybe they didn't charge him because he's a foreign national. It'd be hard to charge him. Again, I have answers to that, but forget it. That's okay. Folson, completely fine to change your mind in a position like that, right? But then you come in here and you're like, yeah, but you're full of shit. Like, you were wrong about all this stuff, right? And so here's the evidence I found that now shows that you were wrong about Mifsud. And imagine that you said this. You didn't even fucking mention that cumulonimbus clouds are the most likely to produce rain. You didn't fucking mention that. You didn't mention that the Eagles. You didn't mention that the Eagles won the Super Bowl last year. You didn't even mention that yesterday was the trade deadline in baseball. In other words, a bunch of irrelevant facts that have nothing to do with the reason that you've changed your mind.
Yeah, but this was tangentially related. What I said was tangentially related.
What you did is you came in and said a bunch of. Let me finish. You came in and said you were wrong and gave us fucking an hour and a half worth of irrelevant shit. That by the end of the night you're willing to say, yeah, actually that has nothing to do with why I changed my opinion. But that's why you said I was full of shit. Because the reason you did this was this. Because you realize how damning the conclusion would be. And so you're like, well, I can't just say, well, I changed my mind, right? You have to say, and you were wrong for reasons. And so you bring up all this irrelevant shit, and someone that's less talented than me might have like fumbled over some of that, but I didn't. And I was able to prove like this is all irrelevant to the story. And so at the end, you're like, yeah, that shit that for an hour and a half I was talking about, you're right. That's irrelevant to me changing my mind. But nonetheless, it was interesting.
No, it's not
trivia.
irrelevant.
It was interesting trivia.
It is not irrelevant. It was to prove the point that it was not premeditated, that they weren't trying to entrap him from the start. That was the point, and I said it over and over and over. If you don't understand that, that's on you. That's on you.
That's not true. Like, even in a literal sense, you could say they didn't intend to entrap him.
It seems very unlikely. Sorry. I know I need to be very specific because you have zero good faith. I need to be very specific. I'm sorry. That's my bad. I'm saying it's my bad. It seems very unlikely to be the case that it was entrapment, that was premeditated.
No.
Okay?
Let me. What does premeditation mean?
Well, that they
planned on it before they took the inciting action.
Sure.
Okay.
I agree with that.
My argument would be this: if your scenario could point to the fact that before the day that Mifsud met Papadopoulos, they had not premeditated targeting Papadopoulos. That's probably true. I don't think that they did. I don't think that Papadopoulos was a dude on their radar before he was on Trump's team that they were like, we're going to target this guy. So I do not think that there was a premeditation before Papadopoulos met Mifsud that they were going to.
I don't also, I'm saying even when he was on Trump's team.
By the way, even in the other scenario, you'll acknowledge this then. If Mifsud was a Russian spy, a Russian asset, then you acknowledge that Russia didn't premeditate to work with Papadopoulos, right?
Yes.
Okay, but once the opportunity arose, whether he be Western intelligence or Russian intelligence, certainly they premeditated at that point, let's concoct a plan. In either scenario, at that point, they premeditated a plan, right? Here's the plan. If he's Russian, would you acknowledge that at that point it's premeditated? Ooh, we have found access. Now, let's enact this plan. It wasn't that they just were off the cuff, like, by the way, we have emails, and they hadn't thought about it. In other words, it was a plan that was formulated.
Sure. I mean, like you're saying
the same would be true if it's Western intelligence.
Yeah, sure. But like the problem is that I stopped listening to you because you go on a fucking rant and I've been talking to you for hours, honestly. I literally didn't even hear anything you said. I just said sure.
Well, that's true. You said sure about what?
I literally don't know. I just said sure because I was just like reading something.
When did you say sure?
Yeah,
just now?
Just now,
or earlier?
What did I just said? I have no fucking idea what you're saying.
Explain it. If premeditated means formulating a plan.
Yeah.
Okay, we have two scenarios of Joseph Mifsud, right? Either he's working with Russians or he's working with Western intelligence. Is that fair?
Yes.
They probably didn't premeditate that Joseph Mifsud was going to do this shit with Papadopoulos before Papadopoulos is on the team, correct?
Sure.
Okay, whether in both scenarios, Russian or Western intelligence. Then,
if you believe it was if you believe this, I mean, if you believe it was Russian intelligence thing, yeah, I mean, he could just have connections to Russian people, right? But it doesn't matter. Okay, fine.
Right. It wasn't let's assume in the scenario the FBI is saying that Mifsud's Russian. Previous to Mifsud bumping into Papadopoulos, I don't think that Russia had a plan. Joseph Mifsud, go bump into Papadopoulos. It probably just happened, right? In fact, I believe Papadopoulos testified that he had met. That Mifsud had no interest in him in the conversation until he mentioned he worked for Trump. And then, like, his ears perked up.
What he said, yes.
Right, right. So then at that point, it's like, oh. Now, at this point, we're in agreement. Previous to that, it is not likely that there was a plan, whether it be Western intelligence on one hand or Russian intelligence, that there was a plan in place before that moment for Joseph Mifsud to target George Papadopoulos. We're in agreement there, right?
Yes.
So in that sense, it wasn't premeditated up to that point. Once Mifsud meets Papadopoulos and hears he works for Trump's campaign, in either the scenario that it's Western intelligence or Russian intelligence, they start to formulate a plan.
That's what you believe, yeah. I mean, if they were one of those things, they would do it afterwards. Yeah, if he was Russian intelligence or.
But it was premeditated at that point.
Oh. Well, no, because pre means before, but sure.
No.
But it was meditated at that point. They meant to do it. It wasn't a premeditated thing, but yeah, sure, they did it on with intentionality. They did it. That's okay.
I don't know if you know what premeditated means. Like, for example, people talk about premeditated murder, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. And by the way, I'm not a lawyer, so maybe I'm wrong about this. But premeditated murder.
No, I shouldn't have said that because they didn't instantly share the.
Well, let me just go with, let's see if we can get to the fundamental difference of what we have with the term premeditated. So give me a second. Like, premeditated murder would be like, I know you, we're friends, we're business partners, right? And then I see that you stole money from my account. So I formulate a plan.
You made a plan to kill them.
Kill you.
And then
as
the other one would be
I walk in on you and you're sleeping with my wife and I just kill you in the moment. That's the difference. Right?
I agree. It wasn't.
So it's the planning. Sure. It's the planning to do this thing. That's what makes it premeditated.
Yeah, since they didn't instantly share the information about the Hillary Clinton emails, it was premeditated, sure.
Right. That's all I'm saying. So then your argument, that's why when you kept saying it wasn't premeditated, I'm like, well, that's not true. It was premeditated.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Okay. So we're clear on that I'm correct, that you agree now that it was premeditated. Yes. Okay. So then when you say, well, the reason I brought up this shit was because I was making the point that if it was Western intelligence, it wasn't premeditated. You acknowledge you're wrong about that.
What they didn't meet him with the intention to do it. They weren't tracking him, but yeah. I understand what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but they weren't doing it they didn't go after him with the intent of
at the point where they knew
infiltrating the Trump infrastructure.
At the point where they knew he was working for Trump, he was targeted, whether it be Western or Eastern intelligence. Once they found out this was a dude that they had access to that was working for Trump, that's when they formulated their plan, whether that be Western intelligence or Russian intelligence. You can't get around that.
Yeah, if he was a part of that, I mean, it's a false dichotomy. It doesn't have to be a part of that, but sure.
What does he have to be a part of?
Why does he have to be a part of the Russian intelligence? Why can't he just have connections to Russian intelligence?
Okay, that's what I mean. What I'm saying.
Person with a lot of connections.
He's either someone that's working on the behest of Western intelligence or working at the behest of Russian intelligence.
No, sorry, that still doesn't mean the same thing. You can know people inside these, like, it doesn't even make sense. You can have connections, but not be under the under the government. It doesn't even make any sense.
There's two options. Joseph Mifsud was either operating on the behalf of people that he had connections to for Russia or operating
for everybody.
On the behalf.
Why does he have to be? Why for Russia? Why for Russia? Why for Russia? Could he not have connections to people all across the world? Why is he not for Italy? Why is he not for? I mean, he was in Rome.
That would be included in Western intelligence.
Yeah, sure. Or why? I mean, what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to be for a country. It could just be a person who works. Why couldn't it be for the?
You're right. So let's walk through this. Give me like 5 minutes here, and I'll walk you through this. There are literally an infinite possibilities. It could be theoretically that Joseph Mifsud literally had a fugue state stroke and had no idea what he was talking about for 9. That's possible. Let me finish. It could be that he is a 6-foot gray alien and he's operating on the behest of the reptilian overlords. That's a possibility. It could be.
Can you Google appeal to absurdity?
It could be. That's exactly the point I'm making. The two only
That's what you're doing. You're saying, what you're doing is appeal to absurdity. Can you want to Google that one for me?
It is not. What you're doing is, the fallacy that you're illustrating is saying, because there are potential, very unlikely other scenarios, that we can't say that these are the two likely scenarios, including those unlikely scenarios that you're pointing to wouldn't change the equation whatsoever. The entire rationale for the FBI investigating is that this dude was working to help Russia. Mifsud. That's the entire rationale, correct?
Sure.
Yes,
I mean, not working to help Russia, sure.
Okay. I'll say, I think he was working with Western intelligence. You're like, there's a third option. He could have been working for intelligence.
He could have been working for himself. Like,
he could be working for Greece. He could be working for Zaire. He could be working for Brazil. He could be working for Argentina.
But you understand.
So then let's say that there's a third option. Let's say that
you would
there's
have to have evidence of who he worked for.
There's an option.
Correct.
He's working, there's an option that he's working at the behest of people connected to Russian intelligence, which is the FBI narrative. Correct?
Sure.
There is an option. There is an option that he's working for Western intelligence in some way, which is what I'm suggesting, right? You agree?
Sure.
There is a third, although very unlikely option, that he could be working for other unrelated parties, including countries that we don't traditionally accept are Western intelligence or Russian intelligence, or himself, or corporations, etc. That is also an option.
Yes.
In this option, let's walk through it. So he gets access to the fact that Russia stole emails. How?
What he got? Well, I mean, it would have to be from somebody that he has connections to in Russia, right?
So wait. So he's working for some independent group. We don't know who, but he has connections to Russia. So what's his motivation then in releasing this information?
Have you ever spoke to a Canadian?
Yeah. So, and what's his motivation?
Okay, what I'm saying is, do you know people from Canada? What I'm saying is, it doesn't mean you're working for the Canadian government.
So what's his motive? Then what's the motivation? So he's working for the Canadian government, which I would consider Western intelligence, but apparently you don't.
No, sorry, I'm saying you. If you speak to people, he doesn't have to be working for them to have connections with them, right? You agree with that? So you were saying for some reason that they were connected.
Just to be clear, then
you're trying to make the point that because he got the information from Russia,
so the FBI has zero evidence.
Russia.
So you're making the point that neither you nor the FBI has zero evidence, nor would ever make the claim that Mifsud.
I mean, the reason I make that claim is because the reason I make that claim is because the Hillary email leaks. Because the reason I make that claim is because the Hillary email leaks were worse for Hillary Clinton. It was worse for her campaign. And so was the social media campaigns. They were focused on helping Donald Trump win the election. So that's why.
Then if you could do that, the claims that Mifsud made to Papadopoulos were worse for the Trump campaign because it allowed them to be investigated for 4 years.
No, because he gave them to the Trump campaign. They gave him to the Trump campaign. Like, it's not something Mifsud did,
the claims
right?
that Mifsud made be used as the precursor for the FBI investigation into Donald Trump and Russia?
What is this? I mean, they're not actually. They're not causally related, though, right? I mean, not actually.
Right.
Sorry. So let me use a different language.
Not only are they causally related, it is
the direct
cause. It is the direct cause.
No, the direct cause was Papadopoulos. The direct cause was Papadopoulos. The direct cause was Papadopoulos, right?
And who told Papadopoulos the information?
Him. Okay. Well,
if Mifsud never tells Papadopoulos this, does Papadopoulos tell Alexander Downer?
So you're doing this very weird thing, right?
Answer the question. If Mifsud never tells Papadopoulos this, does Papadopoulos tell that to Downer?
Hold on. Where'd you get that water from?
If Mifsud never tells Papadopoulos this...
You have water on your table, correct?
What are you talking about?
Do you have water on your table?
We're not talking about things that are irrelevant. We're talking about a direct causal line.
No, what I'm saying is you are just saying random shit. Like, did it come from the clouds? Where did it come from? Like, we would say they're different things. They're saying they're different things.
People say Folson's the one who started this. You say, do you have water? It's not Folson's fault. It's the fault that Folson bought a water before that. And when he bought that water, that money went to this other guy. And when it went to that other guy, he invested it in Sig Sauer. And it went to Sig Sauer, that investment, they created a gun. And then when Sig Sauer created the gun, they got ammunition. And the ammunition was manufactured in Arkansas.
What crime again?
And so therefore that's...
What crime again was Papadopoulos? What crime again was Papadopoulos charged for?
Papadopoulos wasn't charged with the crime. What was the reason that the FBI started the investigation into Trump-Russia collusion?
Because Papadopoulos told an Australian diplomat that he knew about the Hillary.
And who told Papadopoulos about that stuff?
Before.
Who told Papadopoulos
okay,
about
so
that
listen,
stuff?
Mifsud told him about it, but
thank you.
Guess what?
But why do we have to pretend that wasn't the case?
No, I'm not pretending that wasn't the case, but you're for some reason making it like mean something different than what it means.
What are you talking about?
It's not illegal.
It is not. I'm not. It is irrefutable. You're the only person I have ever heard. Only.
But is it illegal? Was it illegal for him to say that to him? Is it illegal for him to say that?
Nope, never.
Okay, I didn't think it was.
That's further evidence that it was absurd to open this investigation. And what does that have anything to do with what I'm saying? Explain to me why that has anything to do with what I'm saying.
What if he could tell them this information, then he didn't do it to get them trapped into something, right? If it was information they could know, if they could meet with Russian people, it doesn't matter.
If Joseph Mifsud never tells George Papadopoulos this, is there an FBI investigation based on this into Trump's team?
No. If you weren't born, then I wouldn't be talking to you.
If you're like, well, the reason I say he's Russian intelligence is because the emails that were leaked ended up helping Russia. Therefore, that's why I assume he was Russian intelligence. And I'm like, yeah, but if we're going to do that, right, I could say, well, what he told Papadopoulos actually, without him telling it, would have never benefited. The email leaks would have happened anyways, right? It didn't matter.
So if Papadopoulos never told people outside of the Trump campaign, it wouldn't have mattered. We agree.
That's true.
That's fine.
Yes. Okay.
So how was it? How was it? So you're saying the intention of Mifsud was to
I'm saying
hurt the Trump campaign, but it couldn't have possibly been the intention because he couldn't know that he was going to say it to the Australian diplomats.
If I operate under the assumption that Mifsud was Western intelligence, and your argument is if Mifsud said something that benefited
your argument.
If Mifsud said something that benefited Russia, then therefore we must say that it must be most likely that he was working with Russians. And I say, but it didn't benefit Russia. Mifsud, if he never says a word to anyone, the entire email leaks that allegedly hurt Hillary Clinton still come out without Mifsud saying anything. So in reality, the things that Mifsud said only end up benefiting Western intelligence and the Hillary team, which by the way was a plan that they had concocted and we're talking about. That they were going to smear Trump as connected to Russia. And you're like, but what if he had a glass of water? If there was water on his desk, then we blame the
timeline?
Water.
What's the timeline of them saying that? What's the timeline of them saying that? Was it before her emails were leaked or was it after? Was it before the investigation started or was it after they started saying this? Because you're saying like, oh, they're going to use it this way. You said the Hillary campaign is going to use it to say Trump is connected to Russia, right?
Yes.
Was that before or after the investigation started?
They had confirmation on July 26th that they formalized the plan. Presumably, they were effectuating this plan even before that, if that's when they officially said yes. So, for example, we have evidence. For example, we have evidence today that was released that a guy from George Soros Open Society knew that this was going to occur, that they were going to distract from Hillary's server, and that the FBI would pour oil on the fire. So they knew previous to this.
And what was the date that Mifsud told Papadopoulos?
I don't know.
May 6th, 2016, yeah.
May 6th. Okay, so what we know is prior to July 26th, other people such as the George Soros Open Foundation knew that Hillary's team was going to do this.
And then, let's see. I think 10 days after meeting with Mifsud, Papadopoulos suggested to a representative of foreign government that the Trump campaign had received indications that the Russian government was going to assist the campaign through the anonymous release of information. Right. So, I mean, they had the information before. You're talking about two separate things. What the campaign of Hillary Clinton wants to do. What the campaign of Hillary Clinton wants to do.
Right.
To win the election has nothing to do with the investigation starting. They are separate claims. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's not true. The investigation started directly 5 days after, allegedly, though I think we'll find out it was before. But the official FBI narrative is 5 days after Hillary Clinton's team formalized this plan, and after John Brennan had informed Barack Obama that she'd formulated this plan, they started the investigation officially.
Do you believe that the FBI got the tip right after the Hillary leak happened? The FBI got a tip from Australia right after the Hillary leak happened.
Maybe,
correct?
Yeah, sure. That's the claim, sure.
Okay, so if that's true, once they had that information, they were going to use it, right?
No, we don't know that. In their campaign. No, we... Wait. They
were using it in their campaign. They're separate things. They knew they had this information. They knew that election, or they knew that investigation would start, right?
Does this information prove that Trump's team colluded with Russians in any way?
No, it has nothing to do with that. But it's
so then the idea that Trump, that Hillary's team formulated this plan, and you're like, it's because they had this information, so they knew that they were going to use this to say Trump colluded with Russia. And the idea that the FBI then 5 days later would say, yes, we're going to investigate the very thing that Hillary Clinton wants us to investigate, when you've just acknowledged that this in no way, shape, or form proves that Trump's team was colluding with Russians, is nonsensical.
When do you think? When did they get the tip? Did they get the tip and instantly start the investigation? Did they wait the day? What are you talking about?
I don't know. You tell me the day that they got the tip from Alexander Downer. Go ahead. I don't remember the specific day. Go for it.
If you know when it was directly after Hillary Clinton's leaked emails.
Okay, so they got the tip. When did Downer tell FBI about talk with? Why don't you tell me the date if you know?
If I knew the exact date, I would tell you.
So you're claiming that the WikiLeaks, the day after WikiLeaks, Downer met with them. I
can Control F to find the exact date. I don't have it written down.
So I have written that it was July 26, 2016 that Downer told the FBI.
And you said 26 was when they started talking about it?
Yes. So the very day that Hillary's team formulated this plan.
So you said July 16th.
July 26th, 2016.
I thought you said July 16th first. Okay. So then they probably heard about it from the FBI if they made it on the same day. Or they heard it from Australia.
So I just want to be clear. Your argument is this. Alexander Downer goes to the FBI. The FBI immediately that day.
I would have to know. I would have to know the information. What'd you read that from, by the way?
Let's see. The source was
because I was looking at the Mueller investigation to see if.
Okay, just tell me what the Mueller investigation says.
I was like looking for it. They don't have Downer's name in there, or searchable. At least, I mean it.
It was from the New York Times. It's behind a paywall, though. What you give me the date? I don't understand. You keep making importance. I don't think that this date's that important at all. You keep making the claim.
The utmost important. You're making the claim that Hillary Clinton's campaign is the one who is like forcing this to happen, is forcing this investigation to happen. I think the dates matter. That's like the only thing that matters.
Well, no, she's forced this, right? She said that we want this, and then 5 days later, the FBI did it. That's true. We know that. You're like, yes, but when did they know about Hillary's team knowing about Papadopoulos and Downer? That somehow is okay. Explain.
If she knew about it before and knew it was damning information, they would start an investigation, then it would make sense for her team to use it in their campaign. I mean, what are you talking about? I think that's
but you just said, okay, we agree. It would make sense for them to use it in the campaign. Yes, it would make sense. What does that have to do with the idea of smearing Trump as colluding with Russia? You already said that this doesn't even suggest that Trump was colluding with Russians in order to affect the election. You already said it. By the way, to the rest of the callers, I'm probably not going to get to you. I've already gone an hour overboard. So, or did you misspeak again?
Sorry, say it again. I'm reading.
You already said. I said specifically. How does this suggest that the Trump campaign colluded with Russians? You're like, it doesn't. Okay, and I'm like, Hillary's narrative was we're going to smear Trump as colluding with Russians, and you're like, well, maybe they came up with that because they got this on the same day.
Yeah, if they got it on the same day, then that would make sense.
Okay, but you just said that this doesn't suggest that Trump's team was colluding with Russians.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's sorry. So, do you think that they have to tell the truth in their campaign?
No.
Do you think everything? Well, hold on.
You're absolutely right. Totally get it. You're right. No, that's right. That's the point. Yes, they knew they were telling a bullshit story, and then the FBI 5 days later said, "Let's investigate this bullshit story."
So, you're saying sorry, it's not a bullshit story.
Exactly
they didn't know it was bullshit. Saying. You can't know it was bullshit until the investigation happened. Okay, it was good reason to start an investigation. It's a good reason to start an investigation. What you said yesterday, you said, it doesn't mean, you said yesterday, you don't need. What are you, is this the fakest laugh I've ever seen in my life?
No, it's a real laugh because you literally just said, so this is literally what just happened. I was like, okay, they said this, and you acknowledged that this Papadopoulos story doesn't speak to what they're saying. So what's it have anything to do? And you're like, well, do they have to tell the truth? I'm like, no, that's exactly my point. They weren't telling the truth. They were concocting a story, and the problem is the FBI went along with that story. And you're like, but do you have proof wasn't true?
So you keep doing this conflation. You keep doing this conflation.
You just said it wasn't true.
Do you know how history works?
Yes.
Okay, so
in the past that we look at, yes, history.
Okay, so do you think at that time they knew it wasn't true for a fact?
It doesn't matter if they knew.
Do you think it was a good reason to start an investigation?
No. Let me repeat what your.
Yesterday you said it was a good reason.
Let me repeat what your words were. Your words that I brought up multiple times. This doesn't suggest that Trump's team was colluding with Russians. That's what you said. And I said, okay, then what does this have anything to do with their claim that we're going to smear Trump as being colluding with Russians?
When I say it doesn't prove.
Your response was, it doesn't, do they have to tell the truth? I say no. That's the entire point. They concocted the story, and then 5 days later, the FBI went
you're doing this conflation, or you don't understand. I'll tell you again. I'll tell you again. Hey, you're doing the conflation. It's fine. I got you. I understand. You don't understand. That's fine.
How history works? Do you understand? Do you have a bottle of water on your desk? Did Rothfuss tweet about this? Have 23 million people seen about this on a tweet? Is that what happened? Is that what's going on?
It's okay. Calm down.
Let's go through it one by one. You lying sack of shit. Yes or no? Did you say?
Calm down. Hey, hold on. No, I'm not going to do this tree with you.
No. Don't tell me. You can leave if you don't like the way I'm handling it. Yes or no? Did you say that this doesn't suggest that Trump's team was colluding with Russians? Yes or no?
The Mueller investigation says that.
That's not what I asked. I want you to answer. Did you?
No, it doesn't.
I don't want
it also
to hear
says
you
they're
say,
not.
I don't
it doesn't say they're not.
You can answer yes or no and then explain yourself. Yes or no.
Is this Pisco?
Did you say?
I think this is Pisco.
It has nothing to do with Pisco. It's because we're talking about things that
yes
you literally
no?
said. We're talking about things that you said that now you're trying to obfuscate from the fact that you said it. Did you say this does not suggest that Trump's team was colluding with Russians?
It doesn't confirm or deny that they were.
That's not what you said.
Colluding.
You said it doesn't suggest.
It doesn't necessarily suggest, but it also doesn't suggest the other way either, because that's how investigations start. Nothing happens until investigation happens.
So just to be clear, there is literally billions of things we could say doesn't confirm or deny that Trump was working with Russians. Whether or not this is water or Kool-Aid in my jug doesn't confirm or deny whether Trump was working with Russians. Correct? So let's start an FBI investigation into Trump to see if he was working with Russians.
Okay. So you don't believe that the Trump campaign having information about Hillary's emails being leaked before it happened would be suspicious enough to start an investigation?
I don't believe that Trump's team here.
Well, I disagree with you.
I don't believe that Trump's team having access to information that literally everyone in the world that had a newspaper had, that it was most likely that foreign adversaries cut Hillary Clinton's emails because she had an unprotected server would somehow justify investigating them. Nope, don't believe it.
It says that that's not what it suggested to a foreign government that they had received indication from the Russian government. They were told that it would assist their campaign through anonymous release of information through the damaging.
No, I don't think that that's justification to open an investigation of Trump's team, particularly.
Well, I mean, I disagree, and so did Mueller, I guess, and so did.
That's fine. So did Mueller.
Say?
Right. So did the groups that I'm telling you are corrupt. Right now, what I'm telling you is, for various reasons, is it's most likely Mifsud's Western intelligence. That's what we've been talking about for 2 days now. So far now, we've run afoul. Like after dog walking you through all this stuff, you're like, well,
no, I would say, hey.
So you're like,
I'll be honest, you don't dog walk me today because I have more information. I'm sorry.
That's not true. Your information every time we go through it's irrelevant. Every single time.
No, it's not irrelevant. It's irrelevant to you because you don't believe in facts.
So now your story is out. Just to be clear. If Downer talked to the FBI on July 26th, for your scenario to be plausible, I just want you to admit this. That would mean that Alexander Downer contacts the FBI on July 26th. Immediately, the FBI contacts Hillary Clinton's campaign for some reason, right?
Okay, let's think of other possible. What if Downer also? Wait, you said Downer had connection to Hillary Clinton. What if they also protected Hillary Clinton's campaign?
Then at that moment, simultaneously, almost immediately, Hillary Clinton's team convenes a meeting and they say, we're going to smear Trump to distract from our server.
Earlier you said Downer had connections to Hillary Clinton's campaign.
Wait, somehow, which you can't explain, somehow George Soros' Open Society have emails before this saying this is what Hillary team's going to do.
Okay, hey, listen. Is it or is it not true that Hillary Clinton's team, or what you said earlier, that Alexander Downer worked with Hillary Clinton's team?
Correct.
At some point. Okay, so is it not plausible that he could have sent the information to Hillary's team as well as the FBI?
So Alexander Downer thought it was important enough to send it to Hillary Clinton's team, but not the FBI initially?
And the FBI at the same time. Because you're making the claim that FBI had to send.
Now, this is a different claim. Yes, that's theoretically true. So I would like to see the information that the central that would mean that there is a literal direct connection to the literal evidence that started the FBI investigation directly to the Hillary camp. That the very person that reported it was also simultaneously reporting it to Hillary's team. This would be very similar to the dossier. That this means that there is a direct connection to the evidence that was used by the FBI to investigate Trump's team that's directly connected to the Hillary Clinton.
Well, that wouldn't matter
at all.
That's
very interesting. That could be the case. I think that deserves its own investigation. Yes.
Well, what do you mean it deserves its own investigation? Because that doesn't mean the information is faulty because they can prove that he said it to other people, correct?
It doesn't matter if
he only said to Alexander Downer. He said it to the Greek foreign minister, correct?
It's irrelevant it is irrelevant whether or not the information is faulty or not. What is relevant is that it's being coordinated with the Hillary Clinton team. That's what would be relevant.
Sure. I mean,
can you explain? Can you explain the emails we get today from?
Is there anything illegal?
Can you explain? Can you explain the emails?
How's it illegal?
Today? Can you explain to me? Can you explain to me the information we're receiving from the Durham annex today that shows previous to July 26 that people in Europe in George Soros Foundation knew that Hillary's team was going to concoct this scheme and that the FBI would then pour oil on it? Can you explain how they knew if Alexander Downer didn't tell her until the exact time they told the FBI? How would they know that?
I haven't read anything from today, so I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. I didn't read anything released today.
Well, that's your mistake, I guess. It came out yesterday. Which shocking.
Oh, I mean, I read a thing maybe you posted. Did I see a tweet from you? I don't know.
Maybe. Well, you didn't see it with the millions of other people like Rothmas, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they reached so many people. How'd you miss it?
I wasn't on Twitter much yesterday.
Oh, wow. But
I was reading the Mueller report.
Billions of people were reached yesterday.
Yeah, I wasn't on Twitter because I was reading the
billions
report,
of people.
Right?
Wow, a lot of good it did you. You brought nothing to the table that suggested anything about it.
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, you can say that. That's what you have to say because you're doing your
What did you
thing.
bring? Like, so far from the Mueller report, you brought up shit that you admitted was irrelevant to you changing your mind.
No,
that's what you got
I never
from the
said
Mueller
that.
report.
That's what you kept saying because you need to spoon feed your audience, buddy. But that's fine. Spoon feed them. They need it. Maybe they can donate you $100 and kick me. I don't know. I don't know why they don't do that. They're too poor, I guess.
Do you remember when we went through at least 2 or 3 times when I said, you got all this stuff over here. Papadopoulos worked for Ben Carson. Papadopoulos met 6 days before. You have all this stuff. Yep, I remember that. And I'm like, okay. And then you have this other argument, which is the reason I changed my mind is because I think it's because Mifsud was a foreign national. Yeah, I remember that. And I was like, and all this stuff over here, it doesn't suggest, right, that Mifsud, it's dispositive of Mifsud being Western intelligence. And you're like, well, it doesn't really suggest or deny. It doesn't really. And I was like, so it's sort of irrelevant. You're like, yeah, I guess that didn't affect why I changed my mind. The reason I changed my mind was this other thing. Do you remember this lengthy conversation that we had? It was very long.
Yeah, I remember the conversation.
Okay. So
and
then
the point was, yeah, sure, that has a part to do with what I'm saying. That this was I know more about him as a person. I said that I know how he was connected to Link University, and that's what I said. But you didn't want to go to that because you go on rants over and over.
I think that it was very important that what we see is what happened there was I got you to specifically admit, because I knew you would do this later, specifically admit, I think you literally said, I said, so you're saying that stuff doesn't affect your change in position? You're like, yes, that's what I'm saying. Did you not say that? We go back to the tape if you like.
I said that. Go back to the tape, actually. What exactly did I say? You want to go back to the tape? I mean, I don't even think...
We're going to go back to the tape, and you said this, you're banned from the channel. This is the rule I have. If we go back to the tape and you're lying about what you said...
Well, okay,
you're banned forever. That's fine. If you're unwilling to admit what you said, no problem. And if I'm wrong, I will deeply apologize. All right? Fair enough. That's
so
the deal.
You're going to frame it as what I'm saying because you don't know what I'm saying. I mean, you don't know what I'm saying. You have no idea. I mean, I don't really care if I'm banned from your channel. But like the thing is,
and that's what's frustrating is you go step by step through this stuff. You spend an hour and a half on it, and then you get a conclusion, and then we move on to the next thing, and you ignore the conclusion that we just went through for an hour and a half. Thereby meaning that we have to go back for another hour and a half to get to the same fucking conclusion. All right, let's start again. Ready?
You're not listening.
Okay, Papadopoulos met 6 days after he met. In fact, you had this whole spiel. You're like, no. I'm not saying it affected my conclusion that he wasn't Western intelligence.
No, it's not exactly what...
Let me finish. You're like, I'm just saying that it wasn't premeditated. And I was like, no, wait a minute. It was still premeditated. You're like, oh. And then we went through it and you're like, oh, okay. I guess it was premeditated. I'm just saying it wasn't premeditated before. I was like, right. So that didn't affect you changing your mind and missing it. And you admitted, no, it didn't.
And then you can find a part of me saying that I found out more about Mifsud as a person, that he... how they met, first of all, matters. Why he was connected to the Link University matters. Because that's the reason people say he's Western intelligence.
Let
me speak. And the idea, if that's true, if the reason he's connected to the Western intelligence because he's connected to Link University, does it also mean Papadopoulos is Western intelligence because he's connected to Link University? Because they both worked for the London London Center of International Law Practice. They were working in tandem.
He was literally working for the West. George Papadopoulos was. He was working for politics in the West.
No,
right?
Sorry, but these are different things. These are different things, right?
That's true, but the argument wasn't that everyone that works at Link University is working for Western intelligence. The argument, as even Durham said,
because they have connections to that.
It wasn't just that he had connections. Like Mifsud was one of like their top people, and that all of his friends and family said we always assumed that he was connected with Western intelligence. In fact, I've done research that shows that he was like buddies with this dude that was an MP in Brussels for the European Union that he was palling around with all the time. So everyone always assumed he had connections to Western government and Western intelligence. The fact that I wouldn't say that some temp professor or some temp speaker there probably also had connections to Western intelligence. What I'm suggesting is, because this is sort of, it would be like if you go to West Point, like you probably have connections to some degree that people, if you're a high-ranking person at West Point with U.S. military, it's a military academy. That's sort of what Link University is, right?
Yeah.
Irrelevant. So the point that I'm trying to make is we went through this 3 fucking times, and this is what's so frustrating. I know I get animated and shit like that. I have fun doing it. I'm having a blast doing it. This is why I've kept you on so long. But it is incredibly frustrating, and it's like when literally we walk you step by step by step by step, and then you make a conclusion. And you're like, oh, okay, right? And what we did was we walked you step by step. I'll do it one more time. And this time, I'm going to timestamp it. I'm going to timestamp your answer, right? And I'm going to write it down. And the next, if you ever come on again and say that you didn't say this, you're booted forever. Because I'm tired of wasting my time and everyone else's. At this point, it's becoming not fun for me. Is it dispositive that Mifsud worked for Western intelligence because he was at Link University and that he met Papadopoulos 6 days after Papadopoulos started to work?
It doesn't prove or disprove it. No.
Okay, so it doesn't speak either way as to whether or not it adds the chance he used Western intelligence or remove from it.
That's what I said, yeah.
Okay. That Papadopoulos worked for Ben Carson. Does that change your evaluation of Mifsud?
No.
Is any of the stuff that you talked about outside this, because that was your big thing, that they met 6 days after, the fact that they both met at Link University, does that increase or decrease the chance that Mifsud worked for Western intelligence?
I would say that it decreases a portion of what I believe your argument to be at the time.
Okay,
yes.
And what is my argument at the time that you think
the
that
argument at the time is that they were tracking him and they were going after him, and I don't believe it is plausible that they knew that he worked for them. But you changed your argument today, but that's why I brought it up in the first.
Show me anywhere. Show me anywhere. I want you to show me anywhere yesterday or anywhere in the
that
hours
is the impression
I
got. I mean, I'm not going to be able to. I haven't listened to hours and hours. I talked to you yesterday.
What you're saying is you claim in here saying I was full of shit because you assumed I was saying something that I've literally never said.
Well, you are pushing. Well, you did kind of push the narrative that I said that because you pushed the narrative that FISA warrants had anything to do with the Mueller investigation, insofar as the things they found of Papadopoulos. I mean, that's just a fact. They didn't use any of the.
I don't believe that I ever said that the FISA had anything to do with.
Yeah, but when we're talking about Papadopoulos, and then you bring up the FISA warrant, you're doing something to distract.
I brought up the overarching. Now, it was my show. I remember what I was talking about. Right? Here's what I was talking about: the corruption of places like the FBI and Bob Mueller.
So you're just saying it for fun. You were saying it for fun. It had nothing to do with. It had nothing to do. You were saying it for fun. That's fine.
No, let me repeat what I was doing. I was trying to prove a case that the FBI investigation into Trump was bullshit, that it was corrupt. And that by extension, so was the Mueller team, and so was a bunch of other people that we see around it. Do you agree or disagree that that's sort of been my central thesis?
A part doesn't disprove the whole. I don't know what to say. So it doesn't matter.
Yes,
so it's an absurd thing. It's a silly thing to do. So what you're trying to do is like make a story for your audience so they will believe that everything's corrupt and that we should disband the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Like, come on, I don't know.
You'll acknowledge with the FISA warrants that the FBI was corrupt.
Obviously, they did not. Like there were 17 errors? Yeah, obviously.
Like, what is this? Okay, obviously, yes. Okay, so perfectly fair ground when I'm talking about corruption at these institutions like the FBI going after Trump to talk about the FISA warrants, yes?
I think it's absurd when we're talking about a specific thing.
That's not the question I asked you.
Well, you want me to answer yes or no to everything, but
why can't you? Watch, let me, here,
what if
I'll
I do
answer
this?
For you. Here, we'll put you on mute and I'll just do you. Rob, I don't think that just because the FBI was corrupt means Bob Mueller was corrupt. So yes, you're absolutely correct. If you're talking about these institutions being corrupt, clearly you're right to talk about the Florida page warrants, but I don't know that that speaks to Bob Mueller being corrupt. There. Did that help you? Did that help? Why don't I just debate myself?
The problem
I didn't
is
say that the FISA warrants proved that Bob Mueller was corrupt.
This only works if the stuff that you say has no bearing on like the stuff you say before. Like you're saying it for a reason, and I'm saying it
The reason that I am saying it is
you're bringing up illogical
investigations against Trump were corrupt. That's the argument. I never said. I think
when we're talking about
totally
George
board,
Papadopoulos,
I'm uninterested in the FBI. I'm uninterested in it.
When we're talking about George Papadopoulos,
I only care about Bob Mueller. Now, you can go back and you called into my show. What I've been talking about for a week was, I brought up 2 articles. I'll bring them up right now. There are 2 things that I wrote. One was from 2017. One was from 2018. I said, the fundamental things that we look at when it comes into the investigation, the Trump-Russia investigation. First, we were told that it started because of the dossier and things like that. Then, once it became out after a year that it was actually funded by Hillary Clinton, the story changed. And all of a sudden it became, no, it started because of this Papadopoulos thing, officially on July 31st, 2016. I said the 2 things to look for in this investigation are, 1, any evidence to suggest that the investigation started before July 1st, 2026, which would prove that they were full of shit and when they said that it was open because of this Papadopoulos thing. Second, evidence that proves that Mifsud's Western intelligence. But the whole thing proves that through the FISA warrant process all the way through the opening of the George Papadopoulos that it was corrupt from the get-go. It was a plan concocted by Hillary Clinton's team that she was working in collaboration with the Obama administration and their intel. That's the fucking story I've been telling for a week. Then you call in and you're like, oh, I just think you're mealy-mouthed. You're not even really saying something. And apparently in the process of talking about Bob Mueller destroying phones, I talked about the FISA warrants and things like that Peter Strzok was connected to, and you're like, how could you bring that up? How could you bring that up when you're just randomly bringing stuff up that has nothing to do with the topic you're talking about? You fucking idiot. It has everything to do with what I'm talking about. The FISA warrants don't speak. It does not speak to Bob Mueller being corrupt, that the FBI corruptly issued FISA warrants. The things that speaks to Bob Mueller's team doing a cover-up job are, 1, him not charging Joseph Mifsud. The other thing I talked about was the fact that they wiped those iPhones, which you still haven't fucking had an answer for. And you're like,
well,
yeah,
we didn't bring this first time you brought it up today,
warrants, You mentioned FISA warrants, which, by the way, Rob, you were correct on what you mentioned about them, but I just want to make it clear it doesn't have a connection to Bob Mueller. Cool? And?
I am talking more meta about why you do the things you do, right?
What do you think my motivation is?
To give a, I don't know, just do grifting for your audience, so they.
You think that's it? You don't think that my motivation is like to sincerely say that I think this process was corrupt, that the establishment's corrupt?
No, because then you would go over the facts and you would be fair. Like
what
when you
facts
talk about
didn't I go over? What facts didn't I go over?
When you talk about Mifsud, well, you definitely wouldn't bring up unrelated facts like FISA. That doesn't make any sense. We're talking about
that's not true. If the entire story is, I want you right now.
Do you think you couldn't find something correct?
You're banned forever. You're banned forever if you can't tell me right now why I brought up FISA warrants yesterday to you. Go ahead. I want the fucking timestamp. I want you to explain to me when I brought up FISA warrants to you in order to impugn Joseph Mifsud. Go ahead. I want to hear
it. It's not going to be that exactly. I'm saying the meta thing.
How
am I going to find it? How am I going to find it? What are you talking about? 30 seconds.
Last word, you fucking piece of shit liar. Like, I'm so tired
of this.
I'm
not a liar.
I want you to explain to me in your own words what happened.
Yeah.
We're talking about Bob Mueller. We're talking about Mifsud. And you're like, well, Joseph Mifsud, that's weird. And I was like, oh, by the way, Carter Page FISA warrants. So
I know why you're doing it.
What I said.
You're saying that the FBI is corrupt, and you want to make that part of the idea.
Corrupt.
I understand that.
You just agreed
what I'm saying is, but if we're talking about Papadopoulos, which I believe we are, then it doesn't matter. The FISA words don't matter for this. I mean, I could bring up cases where the police were corrupt, but it doesn't mean.
Okay, so the FBI. What you're saying is, let's say that I'm going after the Democrats, and let's say I target 3. I target Kamala Harris, I target Tim Walz, and I target Pete Buttigieg, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trump's FBI targets them. And you are like, well, when it came to the targeting of Tim Walz, Trump's FBI was corrupt. And when it came to the targeting of Pete Buttigieg, Trump's FBI is corrupt. Here's the evidence to prove it. But don't you dare mention that corruption when you're talking about the FBI looking into Kamala Harris. We have to assume everything was above board there. It would be unfair to mention that same organization ran by the same people. We have to assume that they're not corrupt when it comes to the investigation. It would be so wrong to say, wait a minute, here's questionable things in their investigation of Kamala Harris.
When we're talking about a specific instance, we should assume. We should go off the evidence that we have, yes.
We know they were corrupt in their investigation of Tim Walz, and we know that, but you can't bring that up. That would be ridiculous. Instead, you just have to say, we don't know. We don't know why these strange things happened in this investigation.
No, we can go over the evidence. If we're talking about a specific instance, we can go over the evidence. We wouldn't bring up FISA.
You also speak to the people that you know were corrupt that we're doing.
You're doing that for your audience. I mean, that's fine.
No, it has nothing to do. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with doing it for my audience. I'm saying the FBI was corrupt. I'm saying here's how they are corrupt in here. Right? Now, the other thing they talk about is Papadopoulos. Right? Here's where they were corrupt here. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. You're saying they were corrupt one, but you understand. You agree multiple times that it doesn't matter that they were corrupt in one instance, not going to be corrupt in.
What are you talking about?
If it doesn't matter that they were corrupt in one instance, doesn't mean they're corrupt in all instances. If we're talking about evidence of a thing,
so for example, if we had a corrupt Jim Crow era, we have a corrupt police department, right?
Yes,
and they're constantly beating the shit out of black guys, and they beat the shit out of this one black guy, and we see a bunch of evidence that suggests that the investigation was not above board, and we know for a fact that the same people that did the investigation were convicted on these other 2 investigations. You say, never, Rob, would I ever bring up those other investigations when speaking to this? That would be absurd. I would never bring it up. I would never say these very prosecutors that have been convicted of intentionally allowing police to beat the shit out of black perpetrators over here. I would never in a million years, when we have another incredibly similar situation with questionable facts, never would I even bring it up. I would never bring it up. And I would say anyone that would bring that up are completely full of shit. That's your argument.
Yeah. If I was talking about a specific instance, I would not bring up things that weren't related to that thing.
That's not true. What I would do. You're a liar.
That's not.
So
you tell me I'm a liar.
I just want to be clear. If we're talking about Donald Trump, right, and you say, I think Donald Trump's lying about this, you wouldn't say because he lied about other things. You would never say that. If we're talking
about a very specific thing that we have like an investigation on, then we would look at the facts from the investigation.
Forget about that. You just made the claim. You said if we're talking about one thing, I would never bring up other things that happened. That's what you said.
So
you would never say. I just want to be clear.
I like how you don't let it.
For example, if I said Trump said he was never on Epstein Island, you wouldn't say Trump lies all the time. You wouldn't say that, correct?
Well, that would have nothing. No, I actually don't think. I don't think that makes sense. It doesn't make sense. It's not connected.
You would say, why would speaking to whether or not we know Trump's a liar, why would that even matter?
That has nothing to do with if it's true or not. It doesn't matter. So I don't care.
No. It doesn't matter. That's bullshit. You know that you're full of shit.
You know that's not true. It does. Okay, so but you do agree
I just want in case we ever talk again, I want you on record right now. What you're saying is you will never, ever, ever talk about an administration and other things they did. Anyone in that administration, or for that matter, any person or group that we ever talk about, you will never, ever bring anything else up that those groups ever did if we're talking about a specific situation. That's your claim.
I think if we're talking about a specific situation, you shouldn't bring up things that aren't related to it directly.
I think you're a liar. I think you're a liar, and I'm no longer interested in talking to you. That's what I think. I think this is one of the most blatant. I'm going to put a poll up for the audience. I think this is even the people that maybe would be on your side. I think that every single human being, that's being honest,
how many people watch you that aren't okay?
I think they would find your claims to be laughable. You're literally saying that if you think someone's a proven liar, and then we're talking about some other situation and a claim they made,
do you think the court takes that into account? Like, what are you talking about?
What does it matter if the court takes it into account?
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Our beliefs are. No, that's not. You never said that once. Now you're saying this brand new. And yes, the court does take into account people's character.
Not in situations where you need to be.
That's not true all the time. Juries all the time are presented with information that people lie, and so therefore they could be telling lies about other things.
I understand logically that it doesn't matter that if a person lies one time that it means they're going to lie again.
I didn't say that it proves they'll
so
lie.
I don't
said
care
that it's relevant information
about the thing that's.
I said it's relevant information in trying to look into it.
And I'm saying I would agree if we were talking about it broadly, but I'm talking about a specific instance.
No, that's not what that's not bullshit. You're like
that's why I said in a specific instance. In a specific instance, that's what I said multiple times. Correct?
Okay. Trump says I didn't go to Epstein Island. You would never. That's a specific incident, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so
but then I would say, okay, well, it seems like...
Just to be clear, you as an individual would say, I will not look at any other statements that Trump ever made to see if he's a liar.
No, that's not how I would prove that he was on Epstein Island. No, I would say that... Or that's not how I would believe... That's not why I would believe he was on Epstein Island. It would not be like... I don't care if he lied right there. He would obviously lie right there. It doesn't matter.
What you're saying is that wouldn't be the absolute smoking gun proof.
No, I don't need smoking gun proof, but like, I would say, is he related to Epstein in any way? Has he ever had him at Mar-a-Lago? Oh, yes, he has. It's an argument you would make. It's an argument you would make. Did he just say that Epstein was taking people from his spa? Yeah, like that's what I would say. I wouldn't say that.
What's that have to do with Trump's been to Epstein?
I would say.
What's that have to do with Trump's been to Epstein?
I would say they. I would say that they are connected. I would say they are connected. I would say that they are connected.
It's connected. If the FBI corruptly spied on Trump's campaign and then investigated another person, I would say that's connected.
I would say if in an investigation where, in a thing where Epstein is taking women to an island, young women, and there was a 16-year-old or 15-year-old working for Donald Trump in his spa, and Epstein recruited her, hired her for whatever, it seems like those things are connected. Would I care about what Donald Trump lied about something else? No, that doesn't matter at all.
That's not true.
That doesn't matter at all.
You would say he lies about all sorts of stuff, so I wouldn't just take his
denial.
No,
you're saying that, but I haven't done that, so I don't know what you're saying.
Shut up. I gave you a chance to speak. Shut up. Number two, the connection's even less tenuous than the example you just said you would accept. We have career FBI agents like Peter Strzok that were running both investigations into Hillary and Trump, talking about an insurance policy to stop Trump. We could see that they were corrupting, getting FISA warrants, that they got illegal FISA warrants. They're the same people that are running the other investigation once more against Trump, and you're like, it's unfair to point out that they were corrupt in the exact same investigation they were having in the exact same time that was targeted against another person in Trump's team. Absurd.
I see. You're talking about it in a... Well, I'm talking about, we are talking about Papadopoulos. We're talking about Papadopoulos, right? So if we're talking about Papadopoulos and I'm saying, let's go with these facts, then it doesn't make sense to bring up the FISA warrants. You would agree.
No, it does make up. But when we're talking about corruption that Mueller and the FBI did, that's what we're talking about. We weren't just talking... Yes or no?
You shouldn't believe any fact. You shouldn't believe any fact ever because they lied. Somebody lied, so I shouldn't believe anything.
I want you to accept this. So what you're saying is our conversation yesterday wasn't a conversation about corruption about Bob Mueller, wasn't a conversation about corruption in the FBI. It was literally just a conversation about what happened with George Papadopoulos. That's what happened.
I think that's what I wanted the conversation. That's what I feel like the conversation became.
What was the conversation we were having?
The conversation became that because you brought up these other things. That's not true.
Even before I brought up Mifsud, that's not true. Even before I brought up Mifsud, I can't remember what the original point you made was, but the first thing we talked about was Mueller wiping the iPhones. Nothing to do with Mifsud.
We were talking about the people that work for the FBI, I believe. I don't know.
I think we specifically were talking about. I think
the two people, right?
I think the claim I made that spurred you calling in was like, I don't know exactly, but I remember the first thing we talked about really was Mueller's team wiping the iPhones. Well, why would me and you be engaging with that if really you're like, I called in to talk about Joseph Mifsud and George Papadopoulos.
That's what it was. No. First, I asked a question, like an open question, because I didn't know much about the situation. Then you did your rant thing that you did.
Talked about facts that you were incapable of disputing. Got it.
And then, I was, because I didn't know the facts at the time, right?
So what was I wrong about Mueller's team wiping the phones?
Well, I don't think you were wrong.
I wasn't wrong about that. Where was I wrong about anything that I said?
What did I say about that? What did I say about that at the time? That they weren't the only people in the thing.
Nothing that was worth recalling. You probably said, I don't know, like you said about everything, right? And then, so then the next thing I talked about was Mifsud being Western intelligence played the video, right? Where was I wrong about any of the things that Jordan talked about? So far, the only thing you had was, you didn't include the fact that Mifsud met Papadopoulos 6 days after he joined the team. Okay, you're right. I didn't say that. I don't think that disproves everything, as we've got you to admit. And then you've pivoted to, but you talked about Carter Page and you talked about FISA warrants. Okay?
I mean, it's a good framing. But the whole thing is, I mean, you're just doing like random shit. I mean, I don't know what to say to you.
Everything I had has one central theme: the corruption of the FBI.
No, we were talking about Mifsud. I mean, we were talking about that, and you were saying this is wrong, and blah blah blah. I mean, you weren't giving evidence. You were just saying that he is a part of the Western intelligence agency. You didn't give facts to it. You were just.
I didn't have to because I played one video, and you said, "Stop it here." I agree. He was most likely Western intelligence.
I said, if this is true. I said, if this is true. I said, if this is true, why do you keep saying that? Why can't you just like be a little bit honest? Or why hey, I don't know what that is. Well, I said, if this is true, then yeah. But then
was it true?
No, it doesn't seem true. It doesn't seem like it, with the information I have now. With the information I have now, if this is true.
What do you mean if it was true?
If the information I have right now is true, if the information I have right now is true.
No. Okay, so the information I gave you was true.
If the information I have right now
was the information I gave you true. All I did was play a clip from Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan.
I mean, you said more than that, but okay.
Okay, but was the information I gave true? Yes or no?
Well, it wasn't. They didn't say anything, really. They didn't really say anything. They said that
based on what they said.
Well, they said he was Western intelligence. They didn't prove that he was Western intelligence. And
you heard it and was like, yeah, it looks like he was.
Well, because I couldn't debate it, so I was just going to next point. What are you talking about?
What they did was they outlined facts. It was a simple case. They were like,
it was 2 minutes, so no, there's no way they outlined facts.
They did. Did they say that he lied to the FBI? Is that a fact?
I believe so. In the first.
Did they say that he wasn't arrested by Mueller's team? Is that a fact?
Yes, that's true.
So then they did outline facts, did they not?
But they outlined facts, but they didn't yeah, sure. And then I said with more information.
They didn't outline facts.
And I said with more information, well, let me think about it.
You literally just said they didn't outline any facts. I said, yeah, it was only 2 minutes. I said, here's facts they outlined. You're
they didn't go over the history. So I need to be so specific with you, and I'm so sorry that I'm not. The thing is that they need, you obviously know when I'm saying they didn't outline facts. They didn't like go into Mifsud's history. They just said a claim. They made a claim and then asked a question.
They gave facts, and based on the facts they gave, you said, given this information, it's most likely he's Western intelligence. That's what happened. You didn't say that willy-nilly. They didn't just say, Jim Jordan didn't come on the mic and say, okay, first off, Mifsud's Western intelligence, and you said, good enough for me. No, he said some things that you were like,
because I would need more information. I said, if this is true, then yeah. But what do you want me to say? I mean, you're just rambling.
I'm not rambling. What I'm saying is, you saw facts, and based on those facts, you said, based on the picture I see here now, if these are true, what they're saying, then yes, he's most likely Western intelligence. Is that what you're claiming?
If he's a part of Western intelligence, then he is a part of Western intelligence. Yeah, if this is true. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that makes sense. But
so your claim was...
I was moving on to the next topic.
So wait. So what you're telling me now is you weren't saying if the facts they outlined are true, it's most likely he's Western intelligence. You were saying if he's Western intelligence, he's Western intelligence. That's what you were saying when you said, yes, it looks like he's Western intelligence. When you said it looks like he's Western intelligence, what you were really saying to us is if he's Western intelligence, he's Western intelligence.
I mean, what do you want me to say to that?
So that would be like,
I mean, obviously, what do you want me to say to that?
That would be the equivalent. I said, I think it looks like Hillary Clinton's a murderer. And then you're like, wait, what? You come on the next day, you're like, what? Here's a bunch of evidence that says, I was like, oh no, all I was saying was if she's a murderer.
I wouldn't give you evidence. I didn't have evidence, though. I didn't have evidence for Mifsud. I didn't have evidence for Mifsud at the time.
When I say that I think Hillary's a murderer, I'm not saying that
I don't know.
I
was just saying I didn't know, and I was moving to the next thing because there's nothing I can do. I wasn't going to make your audience watch. I was not going to make. I could have, but I wasn't going to make your audience. Okay, sorry. That's my fault. What are you talking about?
I don't know. I guess that paints a bad picture, but I'm going to need to see more evidence. Do you have any other proof of this? But instead you said, yeah, that's good enough for me. So now you're saying you were just being bad faith because you didn't want to talk about it?
Bad faith because I didn't want to let your audience watch a 13-minute video?
It would be bad faith. It would be bad faith because you now are saying that you misled us about what you believed because you didn't want to watch the whole video.
Well, sure. That's
so
bad faith.
You intentionally misled us.
If I said, if that's the thing, like not like in a, well, okay, sure. I mean, you just want to do that. You want to say that, then sure.
What are you talking about? I'm asking you what you're trying to say. You literally said the words, yes, if this evidence is true, what she's saying, that it looks like he was Western intelligence. And now you're saying, no, that's not what I was saying. What I'm saying is if he is Western intelligence, he is Western intelligence. And I just said that to move on because I didn't want to watch the rest of the video. And I'm like, oh, so you're admitting that you misled it. And you're like, yeah, I guess if that's what you want. It's not what I want to say. Is that what you're saying? Are you saying that you misled us and that you actually never believed that Mifsud was Western intelligence? You just said it to move on.
I am saying that I know now that it doesn't make sense because they couldn't have charged him with a crime. That's the more information I needed. I saw that. They didn't have enough evidence to charge him with a crime other than lying to the FBI, and he's a foreign national. That's why they didn't charge him, right? That just makes sense.
Okay, but, so just to be clear, right? Just to be clear. So the reasons now you just reinserted this, didn't have enough evidence to charge him with a crime, but they did with lying,
other than lying,
which carries a 5-year term, which is substantial, right? So they could have charged him with that, which you don't really have a good reason for why they wouldn't if they think he was a Russian spy. You still don't have an answer for that, but nonetheless, we've hashed that out. And then you're like, because he was a foreign national. You didn't know he was a foreign national?
I said at the time, if all this is true at the time, then yeah. But then I learned more information. Yeah.
Okay, so far you're saying you learned two things. One, they didn't have enough to charge him except for lying to the FBI.
And I learned more about him and what the university was and more.
And then see, you keep doing this. You're like, here's my reasons. And then I go one by one through the reasons. You're like, but there was more. Then I go through that reason and you're like, yeah, but back to the first two reasons. And then we go back to them.
That's not what's happening. It's because you don't like
Let's deal with the two reasons that you outlined. But in fact, I'm going to give you the floor here. I want you to discuss. So you heard this information yesterday. You said if this is true, then it looks like he was Western intelligence. That's what you said, correct?
Sure.
That's
what I said.
That evidence was true that I outlined, correct? It's just that you found more stuff.
Yes.
Okay, so then you acknowledge that nothing I said was untrue, nothing that Jim Jordan said was untrue, nothing that Matt Gaetz said was untrue.
Well, correct? I'm accusing you of knowing the information and not.
Okay,
I believe that you know the information.
So
you say you read it. You said
it's because there's other things that I know that I didn't disclose, and so that's caused you to change your mind. Number one is he was a foreign national.
When I started hyperbolically and said you were bullshit, but that's like, you want to keep going back to that.
So the things that have caused you to change your mind are, number one, he was a foreign national, correct?
Yeah.
So your claim is, I knew he was a foreign national and misled people by not saying that.
Wait, what?
You're saying
no. Okay, so
you're saying that
I was saying more holistically. But sure, yeah, sure.
So now you're saying yes, that I knew he's a foreign national, but I didn't say it.
Well, no, I'm saying holistically. Holistically, there's a lot of things that you are purposely not disclosing.
Okay, so
that's
far,
fine.
That might be true. You're right, but we'll disagree on the importance of the things that I'm not disclosing. I didn't disclose where George Papadopoulos went to high school. I don't think that's important. You may. What I'm saying is, you're saying that I was intentionally misleading people. That's your claim. And that, so yes, well, technically true that all the things I said were true, that you have changed your mind due to facts that I misled and purposely didn't disclose. That's your argument, right?
I didn't change. Wait, hold on. I never said I changed my mind because you misled me. What did you say that for?
You changed your mind because of facts that you found, and the reason that I was full of shit was because I intentionally didn't disclose those facts. That's what you said.
I said that you say bullshit things. I didn't say that.
What did I say that was bullshit? You just acknowledged everything I said was true.
By not including information when you're talking about this thing to someone, you're not being good faith when you do it. That's just a fact. I don't know what you want to say. You know that.
So then what you're saying is I didn't include information.
No, it's not that he went to high school. It's like you didn't do the timeline. You didn't know the timeline. Let me finish
before you interrupt. I didn't include information that was germane to you that has caused you to change your mind.
No, not exactly. I mean, you're saying stuff like this, but you're doing it to make it sound absurd. You're doing it to make it sound absurd. When all I'm saying
let
is...
Let me do this. Let's say this. Let's say that I'm talking to someone that's not a stupid, bad faith sack of shit like you. So let's say I'm talking to Grid Motorsports. And I say, Grid, here's the facts. Here's this Jim Jordan. Grid says, man, if that evidence is true, it looks like Mifsud is Western intelligence.
Yeah,
and Grid starts to sleep on it. And he goes, actually, I've changed my mind for one reason. And the reason that I changed my mind was because now I'm thinking about it. The fact that he was a foreign national, maybe that would be a reason they didn't charge him. So Grid comes back the next day and says, Rob, I've thought about it, and actually, I think there's other possibilities why they wouldn't charge him. For example, it could be because he's a foreign national. What Grid wouldn't say is, and therefore you're a piece of shit, and you're full of shit because you didn't tell me that he was a foreign national.
You said, okay, hold on. I started the conversation with you're full of shit, or you just espouse bullshit. Right, hyperbolically, you took it. I'm sorry, you took offense to it.
It has nothing to do with taking offense. Grid wouldn't say, "I changed my mind because of information you withheld." He would say, "I changed my mind because I thought of something." But Rob, you never withheld the fact that Joseph Mifsud was a foreign national. Of course, that was part and parcel to your argument. You were admitting that he wasn't a U.S. citizen.
No, but I'm not talking about Mifsud being a foreign national. I don't know why you keep bringing that up. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Because you're doing
holistically everything that he was a part of. You either didn't know.
Here's your argument. You're like, there's some shit, right? So I said that. I said that if it was true, and yes, Rob, technically what you said was true, but there's a bigger picture, right? And there's other things that I didn't think about, and I think you're misleading because you either didn't know or you didn't disclose some of them. And so, for example, you didn't disclose that George Papadopoulos met with Mifsud 6 days earlier. That doesn't affect me changing my mind, but you didn't disclose it. Now, the reason I changed my mind was because he was a foreign national.
It has a part of me changing my mind, right?
The reason that you changed your mind was
because you can't do it. Okay, it's fine.
So, that's what we're doing. I'm like, okay, let's go through the reasons you changed your mind. Step 1, he was a foreign national. You would
That's
say,
not all I said. I said,
this is how a good faith, this is how we could have had this conversation in 5 minutes instead of 5 hours. So the reason one you changed his mind was because he was a foreign national. Yes. And did I mislead you for that? No, you didn't. I just thought about it more. Okay. And reason number 2 that you changed your mind was because they didn't have enough evidence to prove that he was a spy. That's why you changed your mind? Yes. But they did have enough to prove that he lied to them, but it wasn't enough as a spy. And I was like, okay, did I mislead you on that? No, Rob, you didn't mislead me on that. Now, number 3, now you can get to part 3. So far, the 2 big reasons that you changed your mind had nothing to do with me withholding information at all. None of it. Had nothing to do with that. Now you're going to get on to reason 3, which you've already agreed when we went through it. The fact that Papadopoulos met 6 days later, met with Mifsud, has no bearing on whether or not this would affect Mifsud's Western intelligence. You've admitted it 4 or 5 times. And so every time I give you a minute, you say, but the reason I changed my mind is because he's a foreign national.
You're not good faith or you're crazy. I'm not sure. But the thing is that it does have bearing on if they were trying to go after him. That's true. And that's what I've said multiple times. If they're trying to entrap him beforehand, it does have bearing. It does matter. It does matter if they knew about it.
Yes or no?
I do acknowledge that we went through it. And I said at the start, by the way, I said at the start before you had to go through it and do your little dancing or whatever, you're ranting, that it doesn't mean anything necessarily. It's not a smoking gun. But I said that multiple times. I said that at the start. That it doesn't necessarily mean that it was predicated.
You may have said that, but you said more than that. That it does not increase or decrease the likelihood that he's a foreign national or that he's a Western intelligence. That's what you said.
Okay,
you said it doesn't say that he is Western intelligence. It doesn't say that he isn't. That's what you said. That's different than saying it's not a smoking gun.
Well, all I'm saying, okay, sure. So sorry, I was just saying that.
So you still stand by that this story about he met 6 days later.
It doesn't mean anything necessarily.
It doesn't. No, wait.
It does refute the point that they were going after someone in the Trump campaign with the intention, like they were trying to find someone who they could do this to and entrap.
That's not true. We went through this. We said
it is true. It is true. By the way.
All right, let's redo it again. Do you believe
hold on.
Let's
Let
redo it again. All right.
You want to go through these,
do you believe that Western intelligence knew that George Papadopoulos was working for the Trump campaign before he contacted Joseph Mifsud, before he bumped into Joseph Mifsud?
No.
Okay, so if Mifsud was Western intelligence, the first time they would have known about Papadopoulos being on Trump's team was when Papadopoulos told Mifsud he was on Trump's team.
Exactly.
So whether he was Western intelligence or working with Russians, etc., at that point, they would have concocted a plan right there to decide that they were going to look into him.
And as I said then, I mean, this is all speculation. Yeah, that's all speculation. That's what happened.
And the fact that, last question, whether he was working with Russia or working for Western intelligence, right? The fact that he didn't know who Papadopoulos was before this doesn't increase or decrease the likelihood that he was either Russian intelligence or Western intelligence.
No, which I've said multiple times, we said just a second ago, that it has nothing to do with it necessarily, which I just said.
But you keep adding these caveats. Wait, real quick, I'll give you a chance. You keep adding weasel words, and then you're going to change your opinion later. Now you're saying it doesn't have anything to do with it necessarily. So because you're going to weasel out, define the necessarily. What is the necessarily that it may have something to do with it?
Because a claim could be made that the claim was made, or I feel it was made, that you believe that they were going after somebody in the campaign, that Hillary Clinton's team was trying to find somebody.
Yes, I do believe that.
To entrap. So I'm saying that if they were going to do that, they probably would have done it to somebody else. It doesn't make sense to me logically.
They would have done it.
It doesn't make sense logically to me.
They did with Carter Page.
Okay, but
they probably did it with other people, but nothing bore fruit. What they were doing was they were going after people on Trump's team, and they found serendipitously, there's a bunch of people on Trump's team that are going around the world. We're going to have people that are connected to Western intelligence or connected to Democrats that bump into those people, and then we're going to try our best to be like, hey, and like put a little.
This is all just like your fanfic. This is like you fantasizing about this stuff. That's fine. It's all it's fantasy, but you just need to realize it's fantasy, and you're presenting it as fact.
So if it's fantasy, then I won't be able to provide you. Then if I was able to provide you from an annex from the Durham report that showed that the George Soros Foundation knew that this was a plan of Hillary's before the official opening of Crossfire Hurricane, you would say, oh, wow, maybe it was me. Maybe it was me.
And then what do we just talk about? Did they get the information at the same time? If someone that works in the George Soros campaign, isn't that a guy from the DNC? Like, what are you talking about?
I'm saying that if people in Europe knew that Hillary's team was trying to smear Trump as connected
are you talking
Russia,
about I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but what I'm assuming you're talking about is they had communication between a person in
someone on Hillary's team
that worked for the Soros Foundation and worked as a DNC chairperson. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
But if, as what I said earlier, they got the information somehow from the FBI when the tip was made, or from the person who made the tip, or from some other of the many people that Papadopoulos told this stuff to.
I don't know if it's bad faith or your low IQ, right? I don't know which one it is. You can't linearly follow a discussion in an argument. What you just said, you jump all over the place. So this is what you said. We're going through the path. I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter that they didn't specifically target Papadopoulos. Once they found out that whether he be Russian intelligence or Western intelligence, I don't think they were looking at Carter Page until they knew he was on Trump's team. The fact that they had contact with him over only 6 days later seems to suggest it was very quick, but I don't think that they went out of their way to find George Papadopoulos. Once he communicated with someone who was either Western intelligence or Russian intelligence, then a plan was concocted.
Which is, I said, was fanfic, correct? Yeah, okay.
Okay, so then give me the other option.
Well, it's a person
fanfic.
who...
Go ahead. That's fanfic, so give me the other option. Fanfic's impugning me by saying that's just complete fiction that you're making up in your head.
Exactly.
Okay. So then what's your fanfic? What's the most likely scenario then?
To me, it could just be a person who has connections with Russian officials because he works.
Right. Let me repeat. I've said this.
He works with a law firm that deals with that.
Okay,
right.
I've said
so if you want to connect people with Russian officials,
7 or 8 times. Okay. Let me read. Because again, you accuse me of being semantical. It's actually you. Let me read. Someone that was associated and working at the behest of people that are Russian, or
wait, keep saying behest. I never said behest. Associated. Now, associated matters. Wait, associated, can you be associated with somebody and be not be a part of their organization?
I don't know. You tell me. You're the one differentiating.
What, you know that's not true. What do
you mean? I know it's not true. I don't even know what you're saying.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
So you're telling me. So you're saying I know it's not true that if you're associated, you have.
Like I said earlier, if you're associated with a Canadian person, are you Canadian? Are you part of a Canadian organization? No, obviously not. That's absurd.
Okay, that's why I include operating at the behest, that he was doing things.
And that's why I said you have no information of that operating at the behest of somebody.
Does the FBI have any information that he was operating at the behest of?
No, they don't have.
Okay, so then what's the entire investigation? Some random guy said some things. They have no idea that he's connected to Russian or whatsoever, so we're going to investigate the Trump team.
A guy who had connections to Russian officials.
How do you know he had connections? How do you know he had connections? How do you know that? How do you know?
Because he showed there was a person.
What's connection? Define connection. What do you mean he showed? How do you know he had connection? Show it. Prove it. What's a connection? Just an association. It's just because you've talked to a Canadian person doesn't mean you're Canadian. So just
because Papadopoulos said that he had connections. Because Papadopoulos said it. He said Papadopoulos claimed that he had some sexual connections. I mean, what do you want me to say?
He's using the word
or
connection.
Maybe because
just because this dude talked to a Russian once doesn't mean he's Russian.
Or maybe Papadopoulos, because Papadopoulos said that he was arranging meetings with Russian leadership.
He was arranging people that were just associations. They weren't connections.
Well, I mean, I don't even know what you're saying. Like,
right,
obviously,
I don't know what you're
connected.
saying, you fucking idiot. You're being semantical. What I'm saying is there is a narrative that you and the FBI are selling that is this dude Mifsud was trying to help Russia. He had connections to
You're welcome.
Russia.
Hey. You're welcome for $100. You're welcome for $100.
Fuck you. You're gone. You're never coming back, asshole. Right? What this asshole was saying, thanks for donating $100 to kick him. What he was saying, it's so fucking stupid. Even at the end, it's so stupid. So stupid. What I'm saying is there's two options. My theory is Mifsud was working with Western intelligence. His theory and the FBI's theory is he was working at the behest of Russia. Either he was a Russian spy or he was working with the Russian government, etc. He was trying to help Russia. And this motherfucker over and over had to be like, you don't have proof of that. Maybe he was just talking to Canadians. That doesn't mean he's Canadian. What does that have anything to do with anything? The entire linchpin of this hinges on the fact that they're saying, the FBI is saying, George Papadopoulos had connections with people that were working with the Russian government. So to be like, oh, it's just, maybe it was just associated, it's just bullshit stalling tactics because he knows that he's a fucking idiot. That's it. That's all. What the fuck are you talking about?